got Sierra Malnove, and we got Al the Bee Guy.
Al the Bee Guy.
Yes. And you guys are from Palm Beach Cream and Honey. You got all kinds of cool stuff here. Thank you guys very much for coming in. So, Sierra, you're originally from L.A., right? San Diego?
San Diego. Mm-hmm.
And then what made you move to Florida and when?
I got married and had kids and stay-at-home mom. Moved to Jacksonville right out of college. I lived there for 5 years. Moved back to California, lived in Irvine for 5 years, and then moved back to Florida, and I've been here for about 12 years now.
Don't you want to be in California right now? It's
no,
beautiful. I can imagine what the hell it's like now.
It's so busy. I don't recognize it anymore. It's too busy. It's
just
crazy.
That
it's crazy.
What's that road that's just constant traffic?
I-5.
I-5.
The freeway. I still call 95 the freeway, and people look at me like
you're nuts, right?
About? Yeah.
And then where are you originally from, Al?
Pennsylvania.
Really?
Yeah.
All me and him are from PA too.
The Mistake on the Lake.
Oh, that is very, very true.
Dreary, Erie.
He's all the way on the West Coast.
Where we at in PA?
Erie, Pennsylvania.
Oh, Erie?
The Mistake on the Lake.
Oh, okay. I never, well, that was up for me because I was more towards Philly.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a dreary, shitty place that everybody stays and does the same thing. Like if you go back now, I bet you 90% of the people you know are doing the same thing that they did when you left, whenever the hell you left.
Probably.
And then what made you leave other than the clouds and the dreariness and the hell?
So we always came to West Palm on vacation. So Christmas vacation was always West Palm Beach since third grade. And then my parents ended up moving down here the year I graduated. So they moved down here first, and I went to college up there, and then decided the winters were just not worth it.
And why do some people know you as Bizarre Al?
Because I used to.
Setting it up already. Here we go. Here we go.
So ever since I moved down here, at the age of 19, I opened up my first restaurant. And I've had 7 restaurants in Palm Beach County.
Congratulations.
And 2 of them, my success stories was Bizarre Avenue Cafe and 2 Bizarre in Jupiter.
But there had to be some bizarreness there to get that name.
Well,
what'd you do crazy, Al? I know there's something in there because you're fucking with bees now all day long. So, I mean, what the fuck?
Well, the name came from, I owned a building right here in Lake Worth, and it was originally occupied by Hadassah Thrift Store. And when they moved out...
Thrift stores, you remember them?
A thrift store.
Wow, I haven't heard of that thrift store since I was in Pennsylvania.
You know? So when they moved out, I said, I got to do something here. And I was thinking about keeping it a thrift store or an antique store because that's what Lake Worth was all about. But I was in the restaurant business. And so I said, well, let me combine the 2. And I'll make it a thrift store and a restaurant where you're sitting at sofas, wingback chairs, and coffee tables, and you can buy everything. And so it's like a bazaar, Indian bazaar, where you could go and buy something, and it was a bizarre format for a restaurant. And so
That is pretty bizarre.
So I combined the 2 names, and it ended up being BIZAARE, Bizarre Avenue Cafe. And people would come in, get drunk, and buy the dirty sofa that somebody just made out on 15 minutes ago.
So perfect. You get them hammered and intoxicated and say, hey, look at that couch. That stain, you'll get that out. No, washcloth will take that out.
No, they thought the stain was character.
Oh, it was like art to it.
It
art to
was very eclectic.
And then how do you go from that to where you start a nonprofit organization for the bees? And you would, when I was reading about it, you're like, we only got 2 people right now.
Yeah.
What got you?
Do you want to know the real story? Or?
Yeah, the real shit. Yeah.
Or should I fluff it up?
The real shit. Then you can fluff it up. This podcast is brought to you by Monster Energy. Tear into a can of the meanest energy drink on the planet, Monster Energy. It's the ideal combo of the right ingredients in the right proportion to deliver a big bad buzz that only Monster can. Monster packs a powerful punch, has a smooth, easy drinking flavor. Athletes, musicians, co-eds, road warriors, metalheads, geeks, hipsters, and bikers dig it. You will too. Monster Energy is more than just the green OG. Monster has Monster Ultra, Juice Monster, Monster Hydro, Rehab Monster, Dragon Tea, Monster Max, Muscle Monster, and many more. Buy on Amazon, buy on Walmart, or go to monsterenergy.com and believe me, you'll find a place. Unleash the beast. Monster Energy. This episode is brought to you by Fiji. More than just water.
This is not just rock. It's ancient volcanic rock that filters tropical rain. giving it double the electrolytes and its signature soft, smooth taste. It's not just water, it's Fiji water.
You flip it out at the end.
So I retired in 2008 out of the restaurant business.
I bet you wanted to do a cartwheel after that.
It was the summer of 2008. And so the family, we went on vacation. We were driving around the United States, and we heard that the market was starting to have some fluctuations. And I had put all the money into GE stock, which started plummeting. And so everybody said, you got to buy more, buy more, buy more. And so I kept buying more, buying more, buying more. But I was buying it on margin. And so...
Now I see why you wanted to fluff it up.
Yeah. And so the spring of 2009, they did a margin call on me and wiped me out. And so it was pretty down and dirty time. And my neighbor actually got bees in the eave of his house. And I was walking the dog, and he asked me, Al, come here. How can I get rid of those things? And I said, I don't know, but don't kill them. I heard they're dying. And he's like, what are they dying from? I said, I don't know, but I heard they're dying. And he's like, but how can I get rid of them? I said, I don't know. We'll Google it, YouTube it. And so we did. And we removed the bees from the eave of his house. That was the first set of bees that him and I had. And we put them into a bee box and started raising bees. And I was fascinated that you could just go into the eave of a house and remove 30,000 stinging insects that are all female, right? And control them and tell them where to go and put them in a box. And then they make sweet things for you. And so I started researching about honeybees. It gave me something to think about, a new lease on life. And I started learning about CCD, colony collapse disorder, and what was happening and why bees were disappearing. And so I decided, well, I have a little bit of knowledge, but I don't have enough knowledge for adults. And so I started a nonprofit organization for the education of honeybees to school kids, because I was at about that third grade level of understanding.
So that's why you picked the kids.
That's why I picked the kids. But the biggest problem in beekeeping, why bees are disappearing, is there's 50% less bees in the United States today than there was just 30 years ago. But something that jumped out at me was we have 50% less commercial beekeepers than we did 30 years ago. And most of the bees are kept by commercial beekeepers. And because we don't have as many commercial beekeepers, we don't have as many bees.
Because there's nobody keeping them.
Nobody keeping them. So I said, it's the kids. We need to get to the kids and show them that there's another profession besides being a doctor, attorney, a computer programmer, that they can get into agriculture. And if we can stir that up, increase the number of commercial beekeepers, then we can
have a shot.
We can increase the number of bees. And so no matter what's happening to the bees, as long as we produce more beekeepers, we're going to produce more bees. And so that's where it came about. And so I started teaching kids. Then it went to parents and adults. And then I became the president of the Beekeepers Association, then vice president of the State Association.
Congratulations.
And I became Al the Bee Guy. And a matter of fact, the organization, we started giving beehives away to backyard beekeepers. And so if you wanted to become a backyard beekeeper, what better way to learn about bees, right? So we would give you your first hive. That's how I met Sierra.
That's how I met Al.
She was the recipient of one of the first beehives that I had given away.
Now, you went to college in California too, right?
Yeah, UC San Diego.
What'd you go to college for?
Biology.
Biology?
Yeah.
So kind of.
Kind of. I
within
did
it, right?
research on leeches when I was in college.
What'd you find out about leeches?
She wanted to be a Boca farmer.
I really wanted chickens. That's how I got into bees. I wanted chickens. But you can't have chickens in Boca. So
Really?
I realized...
Why not?
Because it's Boca.
Yeah, because it's Boca. Chickens are considered, I guess, by most people to be like kind of dirty.
We're
right?
talking Meisner Park.
Oh, yeah.
Lived in Meisner Park.
Yeah, fancy Boca.
I explained it.
Let's have free-ranging chickens in Meisner Park. What an idea.
I ended up having chickens anyway. It didn't cause too many problems until I got turkeys, and then my turkeys
Fucking
ended
turkeys?
up at the church.
I thought you were a rule follower.
Generally, I am. But I asked my neighbors first, so I tried to be nice about it.
Just clarifying.
But so I found out that it was legal to keep bees anywhere in the state of Florida via the Right to Farm Act. And my neighbor told me about Al. He's actually
Al the bee guy.
Yep, he's still in my phone, Al the bee guy. How she sent it to me like 9 years ago.
And what was it with the turkeys that fascinated you?
Oh, turkey? Well, no, when I had chickens and bees and then I got turkeys, right? I was like, I'm going to raise my own Thanksgiving turkey. And turkeys are really funny and curious, and they wander a little bit. So Christmas Eve day, my turkeys ended up at the street on the corner, across the street from Meisner Park. And I knew that was pretty much the end of the turkeys. So.
Yeah.
So now you give her a beehive, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you meet her personally to give it to her?
She actually came to my house and with 3 little kids
In car seats.
in car seats.
In a minivan.
All girls,
In a-
I saw.
In
All
a,
girls,
in,
I
in,
saw.
in a minivan.
In a minivan.
So you got 4 women coming to you.
Yeah. And
Bless you. Bless you.
I was like, okay, here's your hive, you know. And she's like, oh, I'll put it in the trunk. And I'm like, no, you can't put it in the trunk. You got to keep it in the air conditioner. So we tucked it right in between the 2 car seats. And she drove home with 3 babies and
Bees in the car.
A new set of bees.
I'm
in
just
the
going
car.
for Mom of the Year.
Yeah.
Over here.
You might be in the Guinness World Records real quick with Al with that.
But you know what? The next guy that came out for his hive, it was the funniest story because he came out and he suited up, you know, had the whole garb on, head to toe, gloves, the whole 9 yards. And I said, okay, here's your beehive. I said, but you really don't need to put on all the stuff, you know. He's like, no, I want to be safe, you know. And so I'm like, okay, it's already screened up, though. They can't get out, you know. And he wanted to put it in his trunk. And I was like, no, it's got to go inside the car with the air conditioner. And he's like, oh, okay. So we put it in the back seat of his car. And he's like, all right, I'll see you, thanks. And he jumps into the car with his whole suit on.
like a fucking hazmat suit?
Yeah.
type
Yeah,
bee suit.
you know, a bee suit, head to toe, gloves, you know, the veil, and these.
Like the pandemic.
Yeah, when you have that veil on, you can't see your peripheral. You know, you got to see straight ahead.
What Sarah? What'd you have on when you went and picked them up?
This.
Great. Well, you met your whatever. Your
My
love.
daughter got stung, though. My middle daughter got stung while we were there. And
But not
she
in the
was
car.
Not in the car. Not in the car, in the yard. She was not happy. But we rode home with bees. It was like no big deal.
Isn't that funny? So she comes just regularly dressed, and this guy comes.
Yes.
like he's,
Yeah. And he's freaking out. I told him, I said, dude, you're going to die because you can't see.
or he's gonna suffocate, right? He's dressed like Doc from Back to the Future with the plutonium to get fucking bees. Buddy, unless you're allergic, just get a fucking EpiPen if you want to play with beehives.
Yeah, right?
I would have been. You had to be laughing your ass off.
Oh,
right?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
at this point.
And that story just went on for years. You know?
You got another funny one that you had him one too?
Oh, yeah.
Give me a good one.
You know,
that both of you
I'm
were there
afraid
for.
I don't know which one he's going to tell.
Sarah, you pick so he doesn't bury himself.
No, he
No,
can pick.
I'll tell you.
I'll
I'll
just
tell you
joke
this
with
one.
you.
So another guy came and he wanted to get into it big time, right? Never had been a beekeeper. And so he bought 100 hives.
100.
He didn't want one.
Right off the rip?
Yeah, right off the get-go.
Were you there for this?
But I know the guy.
You know?
Nice guy, you know. And
yeah, nice.
very good intention. Has a nice farm, you know, and he wanted to do bees. Really wanted to do bees.
And now, if you get 100 beehives, roughly how many bees would that technically
There's 20,000 in each hive.
Holy shit.
So you're.
This guy a lunatic?
Let's do some math. What is
I
it?
got a therapist for
Oh,
him. He needs one. Shit. Okay. So how does this go?
So he came out, you know, and he's like, oh yeah, this is great. You know, I'll take 100 of them. But he was missing one arm.
Oh, fuck.
And so I was like, you know, it's going to be a challenge. I know you can do it, but you're going to have to come up with some adaptive ways because beekeeping, you're lifting. You know, the boxes can be 100 pounds apiece, and you're lifting boxes off to do inspections.
You know what, though? Good for him with one arm. Still trying. You got to respect that. You know?
know, it was
That's still
amazing.
cool.
Yes. And so one day I went out to his place after he got everything set up, and he had all these big fans set up. And I was like, huh, you know, is he trying to keep the bees cool? You know, what's going on? And no, his first adaptive idea was to have the smokers behind the fans. So the fans would be blowing the smoke over the beehives, so he didn't have to worry about smoking the bees and taking the lid off because it was already taken care of by the fans.
So is that a smart move?
You know,
It's a little intense.
it's a
With
little
one
intense.
arm, is that a smart move?
Well, for anybody, because you're going to be
Okay.
breathing a lot of smoke, you know, and your eyes are going to be, full of smoke, so.
Maybe you figured,
But
fuck it.
but smoke does keep the bees calm, so so it's better than that guy that didn't use smoke, right?
I always wondered that. I see, I know I've seen from you guys and other people, it's like that little canister it looks like, and you guys are putting smoke. What does that do to the bee? Is it like a soothing, like relax?
No.
Like, what does it do?
We put marijuana in there.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I get it. All right, they're
It
high.
chills the bees
Yeah,
out.
that's what's up.
Did you want to answer that one, or you want me to answer that
Yeah,
one?
what happens there?
It keeps them calm, basically. It's like knocking on the door and saying that we're coming over. It binds to receptors on their antenna so that they can't pass around alarm pheromones as well. So it's just a way of interrupting their pheromone signals between one another. And it makes them gorge on nectar. So then bees with full tummies are happier than bees without. So
Could
it's
you
the number
actu-
one tool.
Could you actually give them like indica marijuana? Could you blow
We've
it?
never tried.
Just out of curiosity, if that would.
I mean,
Hurt
any
'em or
smoke
not?
works. When we use pine needles, mulch, palm fronds.
Why is
I don't
that
know what-
common? Why does?
So it's the receptor thing. I'll put it on the 3rd grade level.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's always guard bees at the entrance of the hive, right? And they're looking for danger.
So that's like the military, like the security guards.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so if they see danger, they're going to yell for help, right? But bees don't yell. So they release a pheromone, and they fan that pheromone or smell into the hive. So then the other bees smell that alarm pheromone, and they know that there's trouble outside, and they come out to help protect the hive. Well, if you put smoke in the hive, it binds to their receptors, so they never get the message that there's trouble outside.
Interesting.
So it's just like putting your hand over the guard's mouth, and he's trying to yell for help, and nobody hears him and doesn't come out to help the guard.
But that's how they talk, right?
That's how they talk.
Do you think they have a conscience? As in, when I say conscience, do you think they have feelings? Like if their, baby bee dies or when they get hurt, like, do you think they feel?
I think they get really pissed if you kill one of their baby bees. So they do react, and some bees are more reactive than others. It's a personality thing. We have different races of bees, just like we have different races of dogs, right? Like you have pit bulls, you have golden retrievers. Some of them are more suited to some tendencies, and some are more suited to others. And bees are the same way. So definitely.
I've been trying to figure
But it's a
out-
personality issue, really.
Personality.
It's
So-
a genetic personality issue.
So if they have a personality and they get pissed off, then they would have to have some type of conscience and feelings, right? Because why else would they get pissed off?
I mean, instincts, right?
Instincts,
Pro-
though.
protective instincts.
I don't think so.
You don't think they have feelings?
I don't think so.
They're just there.
Because if, she's saying that they do get upset if you kill one of the bees, but when you crush that bee,
It releases
pheromones. So again, it's a chemical reaction. They're reacting to the smell that's given off.
So what?
You do know that bees are not individual organisms. So each bee.
Well, honeybees.
Yeah,
there are
honeybees,
individual organism
but
bees.
we talk honeybees.
Okay.
And so you look at a honeybee, right? And you think, oh, I have to save this honeybee. It was drowning in my pool. Well, it's not an organism, right? You're an organism, right? You're made up of millions of cells, and all those cells work together to form one organism, right? If I go like this, cells fall off onto the ground, right? Those cells aren't going to pop up a new Al, right?
Thank God.
It doesn't
Pretty amazing if it did.
Al the bee guy number 2.
doesn't happen that way, And so my body would just make new cells to replace the ones that, died or fell off. So think of a honeybee as an individual cell to the organism. So they all have to work together to form one super organism.
Right.
Okay. And so when a bee dies, it only lasts for 6 to 8 weeks anyways. So when a bee dies, the queen lays an egg, right? But she's not reproducing when she lays an egg. she's only laying an egg to replace the cell that died off.
So that it can all become an organism, right?
Right. So she can maintain the organism,
Right.
the size of the organism. Or if she wants to increase the size of the organism, she will produce more cells to make the organism bigger, right? So the next thing you're probably going to ask is, well, if that's not reproduction, how do bees reproduce?
That would
Right.
instinct, right?
You want to talk birds and the bees now?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah?
Bee sex. There we go, right? Maybe.
Bee sex 101.
Do they bang?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Gang bang.
Ooh.
They gang? Oh,
Yeah.
the queen gets. Well, everybody wants to get to the queen, right?
And it's the Mile High Club, too.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
So you got 6 weeks to
Have
get cleaned up.
Have we teased you enough? Or? So reproduction isn't happening when that queen lays an egg. She's only producing more cells to make the organism bigger. Once the organism gets to maturity or full size, how that organism reproduces is just like an amoeba in a pond. That single cell organism divides into two, and now you have two separate amoebas or two separate organisms. So the entire beehive splits, or reproduction by division, and so the queen will leave with half of the bees, and she'll set up a nest somewhere else, and that is an organism. She leaves behind a queen cell that hatches and takes over that old hive. So now you have two separate organisms. Then they both mature and divide again. But in order for this one, she hatches as a virgin, okay? So she needs to do a mating flight. So she'll leave the hive once in her life to mate. And she'll fly off into a drone congregation area. And that's a male bee hangout.
Is that like the red light district in?
Yeah.
All right.
So all these guys are hanging out every day,
Praying.
waiting for this virgin to fly through the pack, right? And then they all chase her. And the fastest one, he'll fly up behind her and mount her. And he has two hooks that come out and spread her apart, right? And then he
Gives it to her.
he
Yeah.
gives it to her.
Nice.
And so he ejaculates, but it goes into the sperm or semen goes into a special sac in her body called the spermaceca. And she retains that semen inside her body. And so then the male rolls off of her back.
Well, and I'm going to interrupt him really quick because the way that drone does that, his penis is on the inside. It's called an endophallus. In order for him to push that out, he has to use all the fluid in his entire body to evert that. So when he does that, he passes out, right? He has no more blood going to his brain.
So he passes
He
out. hitting her
passes
off.
out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Jeez. Does he die?
Yeah, so
He
ended up-
dies to bang her.
Well, he
flies
roll-
all that way to go hit that, and then
And then
dies.
that's it.
Well, he rolls off of her back.
One shot
right?
wonder.
But those
He's knocked out.
hooks stay in her.
I see.
So it rips out his genitals.
Jesus.
So he's a one-shot wonder,
What a bitch.
right? And so his genitals are stuck in her.
Wow.
And the next guy comes flying in, right?
Is he nuts? Did he not just see what happened?
Well, that's where the story's going. Have you heard this before?
No.
No. So he comes in, right? And the big brain says, dude, look what happened to the last guy. We probably,
Turn around.
We
turn
probably
around. You
shouldn't.
turn. You turn.
We probably shouldn't do this shit.
Fuck
right?
you turn right now.
Yeah. And then the little brain takes over and says, fuck it, dude, let's do it anyways.
We already flew all the way out of here, right?
So he has to remove the genitals of the last guy,
Jeez.
Oh.
and then he dies of the same fate.
What an idiot.
And so this happens 15 to 20 times on this mating flight. And she gets filled up with semen. She returns to the hive
How many times does she get banged?
15 to 20 times.
15 to 20 times. I know you just said that, but I had to hear it again.
That's
wow.
all right. You know?
15 moron bees go and rip the other guy's shit out to put their shit in and croak.
Yeah.
Well, at least they go out.
In
At
style.
least they go out in
Yeah.
style, right?
Then she comes back to the hive. She's fertilized for life. And so then she'll start laying eggs. But she decides if she wants to have that egg be a male or female. And so if she wants a female worker bee, she will release an egg and semen at the same time, fertilize that egg, and it'll become a female worker bee.
Wow.
If she only releases an egg, no semen, it would become a male bee,
So boys have no daddies.
just a grandfather.
I may, because I've studied a lot of cells and everything like that. So when you say they break up into two, it's basically like a mutation, like a cell mutation that just, keeps going and going and going and going and going.
Yes, very similar.
Wow.
Well, so the boys have no daddies, right? So it's basically a flying penis. It's a way for one queen to mate with another queen to get her genetics into another hive.
Now, when you get into all this, because you're with, you wanted chickens, you settled for whatever, you ended up with turkeys, now you go get a beehive. Do you know anything about this?
No, nothing.
Okay,
I knew nothing.
So tell me how, as you're getting into this and learning about it, like, what are you seeing? Because if we look up there, you have no problem holding them anymore.
No. And I was afraid in the beginning. I was afraid, like, what happens if I get stung on my hands? I'll never not wear gloves, right? I don't even own a pair of gloves now. So, it happened over time. It didn't happen all at once. I was afraid of getting stung in the beginning. Some people get stung on their face and their eyes swell shut. That never happened to me. I was lucky. But I just became fascinated with bees, right? I mean, it's the biologist in me. So I have a thirst. When I do something, I do it 1,000%. So I just read and read about bees and learned about bees and followed Al around for a long time. Still following Al.
And Sierra, when you see what Al just talked about, how these 15, 20 idiots just keep going there to bang her,
That's typical boys.
But to see that for the first time, that's so interesting that they do that.
It is. We should have brought a picture to show you what the inner phallus of a drone looks like. Those hooks, it's very obvious. And when his penis comes out, it's big for a little guy. Like he's well endowed.
Good for him.
This
well, he's only got 6 weeks. Shit.
And he's only got one shot.
And he's got to pull. He's getting sloppy seconds if he's not, or third or 15th, right?
Yeah, 15.
So, I mean, what are you going to do? At least give the guy a little something.
This podcast has been rated XXX.
This episode is sponsored by Let's Get Checked. Are you the man your father was? Recent studies have shown that men's testosterone levels are dropping substantially since the 1980s at about an average of 1% per year. Low testosterone can have all types of health effects. It can affect your muscle mass, memory, mood, sex drive, you name it. And yes, low testosterone is more common the older you get, but can affect men at any age. So let's talk about today's sponsor, Let's Get Checked. They're a worldwide leader in at-home testing kits, and their male hormone test lets you easily test your testosterone levels at home. You can order a testing kit that will be delivered to you in a discreet packaging with next-day delivery. Once your sample arrives in the laboratory, confidential results will be available to you in your secure online account within 2 to 5 days. These results are reviewed by a clinician, and a member of Let's Get Checked nursing team may call you to review your results. Let's Get Checked laboratories are CLIA approved and CAP accredited, which is the highest ranking levels of accreditation. So, if you want to test your hormone levels without having to leave your home, visit trylgc.com/MSCS. Special offer for MSCS media viewers. Use promo code MSCS at checkout and get 30% off your test. The link is in the description below at the top. Now, you ended up, we have 500 hives right now? Probably more now, right?
We've got a lot of bees.
So, Sierra, what's the trick of not getting stung 1,000 times?
Oh my gosh, wear bee suit, I guess.
No, smoke.
Smoke. Well, smoke is rule number one.
Number
Yeah.
one.
If I get to a location and I have forgotten my smoker, I go home. It doesn't matter if I've forgotten gloves, if I'm wearing flip-flops, if, I don't have a bee suit. If I get to a location and I don't have smoke, I go home. There's nothing I would do with bees without smoke. So
now, how many times would you say you would have to get stung where it would actually kill you?
I think they say 500 times. I've been stung maybe 100 times at once. And that made me feel a little loopy. And it was all over my my thighs. So the bees tell me where I'm chubby. They're like, your jeans are tight here, your jeans are tight here, your jeans are tight here. And I remember after that day sitting down on the toilet to pee and just like counting the stingers on one thigh. And I think I had about 30. And so this one was about the same. And then I had matching on the back. So probably 120 times that day.
Do they die when they sting you?
They do. Yeah. It pulls out their stinger and they basically bleed to death.
Because if you get hit too many times, don't you hallucinate? You start seeing shit, right?
I felt loopy. I felt high. I mean,
I just feel tired.
Tired.
I don't.
You want
I'm
to
not
lay down, take a nap.
Yeah. I'm not a drug user, so I don't know what it feels like to be like high on drugs. But I imagine that's what it feels like. I felt pretty loopy. I felt in the clouds.
Do you have any tricks for handling, all these bees where you don't get hit, I guess, 500 times?
I call it my yoga moment. Because you have to be in their space, right? So you are the mirror. So you're projecting what feelings are going to happen. So if you're upset, the bees are upset. If you're afraid, the bees are afraid. So you have to get into this zone where even if you get stung, that you don't react. Your body doesn't react because they react to the pheromones you're putting off, the adrenaline you're putting off, and it aggravates them. And so if you get stung, you just got to ignore it, and your body can't react. And so that's the hardest point to get to. It took me about 2 years to get to the point where, you'll be working bees and just flicking a stinger off your nose. And this is the worst spot to get stung.
Yeah, you said you got stung on the pecker and the nose, and if you had to pick, you'd rather have it on the nose than the pecker.
No, I'd rather.
Or you'd rather have it on the head of your pecker.
Yeah,
right,
than my nose. Yeah, because I was taking a piss in the bee yard, and out of nowhere.
Ow. That wasn't really a good
That doesn't
idea.
seem like a smart-
Piss in the bee yard?
She just came out of nowhere.
But
Stung
still,
me.
you're in a bee yard.
It was so funny.
You were there when it happened?
So funny.
Tell me this story. You tell me the story, Sarah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just easy. It's like every guy, right? You get out of the car, you turn around, right? I'm looking at the back of him, so all I see is his ass, and him holding himself in the front, and then all of a sudden he's making a noise, bouncing up
And
and
then
down.
I just started yelling,
tell-
grab it. And she's like, what? I'm like, the stinger, pull the stinger out.
Suck the poison out.
At least give him something, shit. Give the guy something. He just got hit on the back. All right, break.
Let me get my bug bite thing.
He doesn't want a bug bite thing. Want you to bite it out. Now, is it like
So
equivalent?
she whips out the big Bowie knife, and she's like, I
Jesus
got to open
Christ.
it up to
Lorena
get the
Bobbitt.
poison out.
Lorena Bobbitt.
Whoa.
It was so funny.
Now, is that
And you were worried about having two redneck beekeepers in. What's this podcast going to be like?
I
This is
wasn't
going
worried about
to
it.
be the most boring
You
podcast.
might have been worried. I wasn't worried.
It's going to be
I
the
know it
most
was gonna be
boring
fun.
podcast ever.
So is it like, does it feel like getting kicked in the balls?
No.
It just fucking stings.
Yeah, it's, it always hurts, right?
Yeah.
The hurt never goes away.
Yeah.
But you don't react to the venom. So you don't swell up like a balloon, and so, you just move on.
And this is for both of you. I think one thing that a lot of people don't know, I didn't know, that chocolate, bees, berries, bees, apples, bees,
Clothes, cotton.
clothes, cotton. What are some products that are made from bees? And this is
Hamburgers.
to both of you. Hamburgers?
Yeah.
Alfalfa for your
Oh,
cows
I
to
didn't-
eat.
Oh, shit,
See,
right. They got to eat to.
The only thing
and
you
the
would
only
have.
way to get a seed from alfalfa is for it to be pollinated by honeybees.
Wow.
The only part of a hamburger you would have would be the wheat bun.
Without the bees.
Wow. Yep.
Isn't that
No ice
crazy?
cream, no leather shoes,
Wow.
no hamburgers.
What else?
Yeah, we're screwed.
Nut
You lose
berries.
you lose the honeybees, and
Wow. That's amazing.
So you're sitting with the keepers of the world.
I see that.
Yeah.
How long would you guys say bees have been around for? Because they talk, they lie in the
forever.
books.
Forever.
I think they survived the Ice Age, right?
Yeah.
I
There's
think.
like thousands of species of bees.
Yeah, we went through a bunch of them, like cockroaches, a lot of sea animals. Cockroaches survived them all,
Yeah.
Yeah.
all of them, and I think bees did too. I'm pretty sure because I didn't know that there was 80,000 species of bees in the country.
Yeah.
I mean, like worldwide.
Did you know that honeybees aren't native to the Americas?
No.
They actually came to St. Augustine with the Spanish ships.
Wow.
So the Spaniards didn't have sugarcane, right? So their sugar was honey. And so they wanted to bring their sugar source with them. So they brought bees with them on the ships. And so the first recording of bees coming into the United States was through St. Augustine, Spanish ships.
And now one of the biggest problems now is
Killer bees.
killer bees. Oh, yeah.
Killer bees.
With the bee population going down and not enough, beekeepers, the pesticides and everything else, that plays a major role in all of this too. It's not just the beekeepers, right?
It's everything together, really. There's all these pressures, right? If you're tired, if you're run down, you'll get sick easier. So pollination, right? We truck bees all over the country to pollinate our crops.
They're exposed to pesticides, fungicides.
And what, 5 days ago, can you pull up tab 2?
Yep.
And 5 days ago, you guys were just in an article, and it was about how the bee population is constantly declining, right?
Yep, WPTV and Fox 29.
Yeah, Rob, you want to read this and go through this a little bit, and then you guys can elaborate on it?
Yep, it says Palm Beach County bee enthusiasts I can't say
Apiarists.
Apiarists work to preserve bee population.
Why do you think I told him to read it?
Thanks. Set me up there. There are more than 300 native species of bees in South Florida and 20,000 species worldwide.
I said 80, sorry.
They pollinate about a third of the food we eat. Sierra and Al have taken their passion for bees and made it their business and their mission. The two have founded Palm Beach Creamed Honey and B10 Coffee, among other arms of their business.
Everything's
aimed
better
to
when you beat
protect
it.
bees. In recent years, bee population has declined significantly. As populations of people have grown, trees and plants have been cut back, and neighborhoods have sprawled into natural areas. We talked about that. Remember, Tommy?
Yeah, I do.
They just keep building and building and building, and it's sad. The bees need something really heavily in bloom in order to make a surplus honey crop.
Did you know that it takes 1 million flowers? A bee has to go to 1 million flowers to make 1 pound of honey.
Wow.
That's a lot of flowers, right?
That is a lot.
People will say when he gives them bees the first time, well, I haven't planted enough in my yard yet. It's like, you can't plant enough in your yard for the bees.
3 to 5 miles they'll travel in a radius looking for food.
And it's sad because, I mean, you guys live down here, you know, population's coming in, good for economy, right? Economic boost and all that type of stuff. But I see it in my own area where I live. They just keep clearing out land, and then people will be like, oh, there's a bobcat in my backyard.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, no shit. He was there before you, and he has somewhere he has to go somewhere.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So it's sad because you don't realize the damage you're doing by just, constantly just tearing down trees.
But also after that, so I keep bees about a mile away from here at the Palm Beach Par 3 golf course. And those bees have a ton of forage, right? There's so many palm trees. Those palm trees make amazing nectar from the blooms that they give. But one of the common practices in communities, residential communities, is to cut all those blooms off.
Oh, yeah.
So not only are we sprawling, right, into natural areas, but then what we plant and how we groom those plants and landscape those plants really is detrimental to not just honeybees, but the other 300 species of native bees that we have
Here in
here in South Florida.
Wow.
And that's what I would say the biggest problem that we have is the way that we groom. Because the bees make tons of honey over here. There's so much forage and not a lot of commercial beekeepers. There aren't huge densities of commercial beekeepers. At our home yard, we make hardly any honey. We have other locations where we make honey. But in our home yard, there's too many other bees around for our
Commercial
bees to
beekeepers
make.
packed into one area.
Right.
And
The
that's
further out you go, the more rural you are. There's lots of space. There's more commercial beekeepers. So these areas in town are great areas for bees to make honey, as long as you can shift the awareness. I see when they cut all those palm trees, the bees get really hungry really fast.
Well, there goes to my par 3 golf course.
No, the par 3 is awesome.
But
Their
they're
bees
killing- they're killing
No,
shit.
they are actually really good. So I work with Tim, who's the golf course superintendent there, and they're very aware, and they wait to trim until after
cool.
the blooms are done
It's
as much as they can.
Residential, where the problem
Not
is.
very good.
Yeah,
at
no,
that stuff.
Palm Beach par 3 is awesome. Their bees make a lot of honey.
I do
And it's for
I do
sale in their
bee
golf.
removals. I remove bees from unwanted locations, and people will call me up, and they'll be like, "Hey, I got a beehive. It's in my tree," So I'll go and look, and they're like, "Look right there." I'm like, "It's a palm tree that's in bloom." And the bees are coming for the food. It's not a beehive. They're coming for the food. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing. Well, I don't want them there. Get rid of them. They're doing what they're doing.
So what do you do in that situation when you know they're doing what they're doing and they need to do it, but you're asked to remove it because you're considered an expert?
Well, there's nothing to remove. I only remove the nest, the unwanted nest. I can't control. That's like saying, "Hey, don't let any birds land on my house."
If you could do that, I don't think you'd be sitting here, right?
Yeah, I would be the other guy.
Yeah.
I don't control nature.
Right.
Well, I try and turn it into a positive. I tell people they're doing a really amazing thing, and look at all the pollinators that you're feeding right now. You know, do you just spin it? It's how you look at it, really.
Education, I guess, right? Just educate people.
And when they say expert, because they call you a bee removal expert, what is a bee removal expert? I understand you can do it without dying, but I mean, what makes you an expert?
Stupidity. I'm too stupid to know different than.
If you're an expert, you're not that dumb.
I'll just go in there and pull out them there bees that they're stinging everybody.
No, that would be an idiot like me, like him betting me that I won't do it.
Yeah,
and then
correct.
we go back and forth, and then my ass goes and does it, and I call you guys to save me so I don't fucking die. That would be stupid.
Yeah.
But what makes you so good at removing them? Like, why do you think you're so good at removing them?
So bees get into very precarious locations, okay? They like to be high, number one. So they like to make their nest up high. So a lot of times it's in the roof of a house, 4 stories up on a condo, in spots where you wouldn't think bees would be. And so most bee removal specialists will look at it and be like, yeah, I'm not doing that, and I take it as a challenge. So
He's crazy.
I used to be in construction, so I know how things are built. So I know exactly where the bees are from looking at them from the outside and say, yeah, there's a void in the wall right there because of how it's constructed, and we're going to have to remove part of the roof. And, so I do the jobs that nobody else will do. 4 other beekeepers or pest control operators were out there looking at it, and they're like, no, you're crazy,
But he also thinks like a bee. So it's not just that construction knowledge, which is super helpful, but he thinks like the bee. So if he sees that this hive should be this big based on the number of combs they have and the amount of brood that they have, and he doesn't see those bees, he'll think like a bee and look for where did they run to, right? So he thinks like a bee, and he can anticipate when he cuts into a place like that where the bees might run to so that he can prevent that from happening, right? So he thinks like a bee, and he's a little crazy, and he has construction
So the
knowledge.
combination works. So he creates like a hypothesis, and then based on that hypothesis, he creates a strategy on how to go about it based on your knowledge of bees.
Yeah.
So when you look at a hive, you can basically predict what it's going to do, and then based on that, that's how you go about doing it.
And how to get it out with the least amount of repairs.
Right.
I've seen places where the guy's cut 4 different holes in the roof, and he still hadn't found where the hive was. It's like, dude, it's over here.
Yeah, like, bro, you're not a bee expert, buddy.
So I don't know that I'm a bee expert, but
Do you hear this guy?
He's really good at
Al
what
the
he
bee
does.
guy.
Yeah.
He's really good
You're
at
going
what
and
he
getting
does.
all kinds of beehives out that nobody else wants to. I would say you're up there.
Yeah.
And you're making some excellent coffee out of
That
it.
coffee's
Yeah,
good,
that
isn't
is
it?
good.
So, Sarah, or both of you guys, explain how this coffee comes about, because this is really interesting. I thought you had like packets, but that's not how this works.
No. So in India, they prepare their coffee in a special way. It's called beaten coffee, Beaten coffee. And they'll take 2 spoons of sugar, and they'll take a spoon of concentrated coffee, and they'll beat it against the side of the mug to form a paste out of it. And that aerates the coffee, which takes the bitterness out of the coffee. And then they just add hot water to it, and it forms their cup of coffee, a very smooth, sweet cup of coffee.
This is the best coffee I've ever had.
it's very good.
And I'm not saying that because you guys are here. Really, this is the best I've ever had.
And so Cuban coffee is made the same way. It's just called something different. It's Cuban coffee. So they're taking the first tablespoon of coffee out of the espresso machine and putting it with 2 spoons of sugar and beating it, and then taking the rest of the espresso and mixing it with the paste. They don't add water to it to make a full cup. They drink it strong and sweet as Cuban coffee. So, and in America, we call it whipped coffee. And so I said, well, if they can make that paste out of sugar and coffee concentrate, why can't I make it out of honey? And so I started experimenting with beating the concentrated coffee with the honey and formulating my own brand of coffee to go in our own honey. And I make the paste now. So I'm eliminating the steps of brewing the concentrated coffee and beating the coffee for 5 minutes to take the bitterness out of it. And I jumped to the step of just take a scoop of the paste, add hot water or hot milk to it, and you have an excellent cup of coffee.
Yeah, and there's no bitter to it.
No bitterness.
And if people want to look, I mean, it's just you just take this out and what you put 2 like teaspoons in there? Or?
1 heaping tablespoon.
Wow, 1 heaping tablespoon.
Yeah, but
It's right there. I
And
mean, it's
it
really
wasn't
good.
he
Yeah.
turned into a barista, and man, he would come with 2 cups of coffee. Number
Here
1,
comes-
number 2. What do you
that's
like?
where-
1, 2. 1, 2 is like going to the eye doctor. Number
Yeah,
1,
1 or
number
2.
2.
But that's
number
where the
2,
restaurant.
number
That's where the
3.
restaurant guy in me came out, right?
Benefited everything, right?
Yeah. So I used to have to taste coffee all the time to know what good coffee tastes like to serve it at the restaurant.
And this is a blend. He's made his own blend of
Own
coffee.
blend of coffee.
You can't go to the store and buy this coffee and beat it with honey and make your own. He has his own blend that he's made.
But you haven't even noticed I told you it was beaten coffee.
Yeah.
Right? So did you notice the name?
B10 coffee.
B10.
B10
B10.
coffee. Beaten.
B10.
Yeah,
B10.
B for the honey.
I get it. I get it now.
B is for the honey, no
Yeah.
sugar. The 10 is 10% of the proceeds go to save the honeybees,
Oh,
Oh,
cool.
nice.
and the coffee is to enjoy.
Oh, that's awesome.
B10 coffee.
Good, right?
Are there different, and this is a weird question, maybe not, are there different types of honey? Like, meaning,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
do
Yes.
bees produce a different, like one much sweeter, one much, or how does that work?
Yeah, so I was just saying that I keep bees at the Palm Beach Par 3 really close, but I also have 27 other country clubs that I keep bees for, from Coral Gables all the way up to Vero Beach.
Oh, wow.
And
Congratulations.
everybody's honey tastes totally different, and every season it tastes totally different. So if I take honey from the Palm Beach Par 3 and compare it to Everglades Club right up the road, their honeys, even in the same season, are totally different. It's all based on the forage that the bees have to collect the nectar from. So we have 3 seasons that we make honey here in South Florida, and each location has its own microclimate for the honey that the bees make.
And then why, I remember my mother-in-law was big on this, she still is, she takes bee pollen and she puts it in her coffee, and she would swear by it. She'd always say to us, you should be taking this during allergy season and all this type of stuff, but you have to get it from the local
Yes.
bee. What is the reason behind that? Or is that true?
Yeah,
Is
no,
that
it's
true?
absolutely true. Your grandma knew right. So when the plants around you are in bloom and it causes an allergy inside of you, eating the honey from your local area, it doesn't even have to be specifically bee pollen. It can just be honey. As long as the honey is unfiltered, which means it still contains the pollen granules inside of the honey, eating the honey that's local to you, but also during the season that you're allergic, it's like microdosing yourself with those pollen granules every time you take a spoonful or you add it to your coffee or your tea or drizzle it on, a bagel or a piece of toast. That microdoses you to those allergens every time you ingest it.
Yeah, I was always
That's
wondering.
really interesting.
Yeah.
Now, like when a bee comes after you, everybody runs like hell or
The
swings.
cartoon.
If a bee's coming after me and he's coming after me, what's the best thing for somebody to do to avoid getting stung? I would guess not swing at it
Yeah.
and not because then you're going to piss it off, right, Al?
That's right.
So Sarah, what would you do?
Swatting at a bee is like saying, come here and sting me on the face.
Right, that's what 99.9% of America
Yeah,
does.
they
That's
do
why I'm
that.
asking you, so that when people watch this, if you see a bee coming at you, listen to these two because I think they know because they're standing there with. Sarah's got nothing on right there, just no gloves, just t-shirt. Al, I don't know what the fuck you're doing over there, but looks like a lot of shit with no gloves. What are you pointing at right there? Other than a bunch of.
So that's actually a removal. And that was in a stud wall, a wood stud wall.
Oof.
And I took that piece of plywood off, and the entire hive was connected to that plywood. So that's all honeycomb, and all the bees are to the top and bottom of the honeycomb.
You see how they ran?
So they're alive right there.
Yeah, yeah.
You're crazy,
Yeah.
man. I mean, you're awesome, but you're crazy. You don't even have a glove on, nothing.
No.
But
Yeah.
you
And
know
it's-
them though.
And it's eviction day.
Get out.
They're moving on.
That's amazing. That just goes to show you how well you two know these.
There was
these
a funny story. You were saying, hey, do
Yeah.
you know a funny story? So Mo and Sally,
Yeah.
the radio show?
Yeah.
So I knew Mo and Sally from the restaurant business. They used to come into my restaurant all the time. And so
I bet that was killer for networking, right?
one morning, I'm listening to the Mo and Sally show, and Mo said, "Hey, Sally, we're going to start something new. I'm going to give you fun facts every Friday," or whatever it was, And so he's like, "Today's fun fact is that if you're eating bananas around a honeybee hive, you will get attacked because the alarm pheromone for honeybees smells like bananas. And so when you're eating that banana, the bees are going to go crazy because it smells like the alarm pheromone." And I was driving the truck. I was like, foul, no,
Myth, right?
And so Mo's fun fact had to be destroyed, right? And so I tried calling up the station right when he was...
Because nobody would eat a fucking banana again in South Florida.
And so I tried calling up the station right when it was on the air, and I couldn't get through, right? And I was going to a bee removal. And so I was like, all right, so I'm going to stop and get some bananas, and I'm going to do a video and send it to Mo and Sally. And so I did my bee removal, and I was holding the queen in my hand, and I let all the bees cluster around my hand. So I was holding 15 to 20,000 bees.
You're crazy. They're all trying to get to her. They know they're dead once they get to her.
Right? And so then I grabbed the banana, right? A whole bunch of bananas.
Prove a point, yeah.
And I told the lady that I was doing the removal for, I said, "Hey, can you
Just
video?"
some random homeowner.
Can you
She's like, what the fuck?
Yeah. She's probably like, is there a therapist anywhere nearby? Right?
And I was like, "Hey, can you video this for me?" And she's like, "Sure, okay." And so I said, "Mo, I listened to your fun fact this morning about eating bananas around honeybees and getting stung up. Well, I'm here to prove you wrong because here's 15 to 20,000 bees, and here's my bunch of bananas. And, oh, look, I'm eating bananas."
He like peels it with his mouth.
And I'm like, "And nothing's happening, Mo. So I think your fun fact's full of you know what." And so then I sent him the video, right? And he was like, "Come on. It was my first day of fun facts, and I got to get torn apart like this." But I posted it on YouTube. It was pretty funny.
At least you got a reply out of it, though, right?
Yeah,
that
right?
was cool.
Yeah, that was it.
So what I
He never retracted, though.
never retracted.
Never
What was his
retracted.
first fun fact,
Yeah, it was
right?
his first
and
fun
you just
fact.
rained on his parade, took
Rained
that
on it.
Kool-Aid smile right off his face.
That's right.
So we truck all kinds of almonds to California, right?
Nope.
Bees to the almonds.
To pollinate them in California, right? Can you pull up the next tab? And it's a shit ton, right?
A shit ton.
Yeah, 15 million bees to California. Scroll down, Rob. And then if you guys could explain this a little bit, because, I mean, nobody would think in a million years that this actually happened or just don't know.
Yeah, keep on going to the next picture. There you go. That's actually in the almond groves. And you see how there's nothing there. No, it's just dirt and almond trees, right? Wow. And so there's no pollinators there because they can't survive because there's no food. There's nothing in bloom. They spray everything or take all the wildflowers and weeds out. And so all year long, the pollinators can't live there. And so when the trees go into bloom, there's nothing to pollinate them because there's nothing there year round. So they have to truck in almost 3 million beehives to pollinate all the almonds in California. And we have to truck them in just before the trees go into bloom.
In February, right?
Yeah, in February. And then 8 weeks later, we have to truck the bees out or they'd starve, because the bloom is over. So it's just for the time that the trees are in bloom and the bees pollinate all those almonds, and over 80% of the world's almonds are produced in California.
I didn't know that.
80% of the world's almonds are produced in California.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
It is the largest pollination event in the entire world.
Wow.
The beekeepers call it the Beekeepers Super Bowl.
And no bees, no almonds.
That's right. No almond milk,
Nobody knows that.
no almond
Not many
meal.
people know that. Oh yeah, all
No.
the almond milk
All
people.
the almond stuff.
So,
better
but
fucking listen
the
to this
picture
shit.
before that, if you scroll back, you see the beehives are on pallets, and there's 6 beehives on a pallet.
Wow.
And then we can forklift them onto the truck, and it creates the cubes on the truck. So there's 432 colonies of bees going on that semi, and then it gets wrapped with netting, and the driver has to drive continuously. And so he can only stop at night because the bees don't come out of the hive at night. And we load the bees at night because all the bees are back to the hive. And so we're not leaving any bees behind. And so during the day, the truck has to be moving, and the airflow and the vibration keeps the bees in the hive.
God, I would not want that thing to wreck.
And it
Every year it happens to someone, and it's awful.
takes 3 to 4 days for the bees to get out to California from here. And then they unload them out there, and we have a designated section that we're pollinating. So all our bees will be in one area pollinating that area. And we usually fly out and check on our bees. And
Make sure they're there. Now, how do they survive that 3-4 day trip? How do they live?
It's those special instructions to the driver, right? We give him the route we want him to take. Go this way and not this way. Too cold going over the mountains, going through Arizona, so stay low on I-10. So he goes low, and we give him instructions to only stop at night. If you have to stop for more than 10 minutes, you need to,
feed.
yeah, we have internal feed in the hive so that they have food for the trip. There's hoses on the top, so if he stops during the daylight hours for more than 10 or 15 minutes, he needs to hook them up to water and water them. We also put GPS trackers on. So we watch, and if he stops for more than 10 minutes during the day, we're on the phone. What's wrong? Why are you stopped?
So before they pick up, you're looking at the weather all the way there, the
Yeah.
conditions. So this isn't just okay, we make them, we keep them alive, we load them, see ya.
And-
This is a whole thing.
And
Yeah.
you want an experienced driver, somebody that has driven bees before
Right. And that's going to listen, right?
and knows what to do.
Now, how many times have you guys ran into a pickup and the guy didn't listen?
We've been lucky.
We've been really lucky.
Good for you.
But there's a lot of prep that goes into that. Those bees, I mean, it looks pretty clean, right? The load looks clean. We have to put those bees onto freshly washed pallets because California is a little crazy. If they see one ant on that entire truck, they will refuse the load and not let it in.
I remember going down there. Their fucking smog laws are insane. What do you guys have out there? You got the regular inspection, the air inspection, then you got smog inspection too,
Oh,
right?
yeah. No, especially in LA.
Yeah, that's where I used to go all the time. There was smog inspection places every 2 feet.
Oh, that's for your car.
Yeah.
Yeah, smog check on your car.
Yeah.
Your car has to pass emissions. When I had my first truck, it was a really old Ford Ranger, and you
Bet
would
they
have
loved
to
that.
slip a little money to
Yeah,
the
PA
smog
had that.
guy to get your car
We had
passed.
smog?
We had,
That was a
well,
really
not
long time
smog-
ago.
Not
I didn't
smog,
even
but
know.
emissions. That's two
the
stickers.
emissions,
up front.
yeah.
Al, when you
Florida
were
had it for a while.
Al, when you were in Erie, I was in South Philly and Lebanon. I never even heard the word smog. Did you?
Not smog.
I thought smog was like fog.
Yeah, right?
It looks like kind of like fog, except it's dirty.
Now, how long does it take for you guys to load that truck? Because you got to load it properly. Like, how long is that process of loading that? So you already have the map laid
The
out.
process is the week before. The preparation, getting the bees ready to go, is the hard haul. And loading, that truck gets loaded in 2 hours, and it's off,
Now, do they have to, when you go to load them, is there certain bees that you'll pick, certain bees that you won't because they're not strong enough to go yet?
That's
Yeah.
right.
And how do you go about choosing, either or?
Yeah. So, what was it? The year before last? I wanted to double the number of hives that we were sending to California, 2 truckloads of bees. And the preparation, the tough part is between November and February because bees are shut down. It's wintertime, and you want them to be going gangbusters like it's springtime. And the farmer requires that it be a minimum of 6 frames of bees
They grade them.
with an 8-frame average.
And what's a frame mean?
So inside the beehive,
That frame that I was holding in the picture on the last tab. You
Oh,
had
yeah. Go back
open.
to the home. The one where you're holding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
a
there-
frame.
so
One
there's-
frame of bees.
there's
Okay, I see.
there's 10 of those frames in a box.
Okay.
And typically it's a double box that we're sending out to California. So bees have to be occupying 8 frames, covering 8 frames total to be considered good enough to pollinate and be paid for.
And make the trip, yeah.
Yeah,
More so pollinate.
Yeah.
You have to have 2 or 3 frames more than what you need to grade out at in order for the bees to make it there, because it's so much warmer here in Florida than it is in California in February in that Central Valley, that what's 10 or 11 frames here will be like 8 frames there.
Right, because you're going to lose some.
And you
No.
lose
Nothing
some.
you
You
can
do lose some, but they contract to keep the babies warm.
Oh,
They-
that's right, because the queen.
They keep the hive at 95 degrees at all times by body heat.
Wow.
So it can be 10 below zero, and that hive is still 95 degrees,
Fucking
right?
smart.
But in order to do that, the colder it is, the tighter together they have to get to create that body heat and keep it concentrated. And so when they go from 80 degrees here, they can spread out, because it doesn't take as much to heat it up. But then when they get to California and it's 50 degrees, they contract. And so what looks like 8 frames here is 5 frames in California just because they've contracted. And so they'll let the outer sides, just go so they protect the core.
So when when you're looking at that up there, they're on that square
Frame.
frame, that rectangular frame. They're working or they're doing whatever they're doing. Are they? So how is the honey made, and then is like pollen basically their shit, or what is pollen? Like how does all that work?
You got multiple questions going.
Yeah. So because I'm thinking about it, I'm like, you're making honey, and then are you making it and then shitting pollen out, or what's going on there? I just want
Bees eat 2 things.
Okay.
So pollen is actually their protein source. The plant gives pollen. So bees facilitate plant sex by transferring pollen to the sex organs of the plant.
They're
from one
sexual,
part-
really sexual beings. these
They
bees.
are,
Okay.
yes. So pollen is what they gather, and they use that as their protein source. Nectar, which they turn into honey, is their carbohydrate source. So both of those things are produced by the plants, and the bees collect them and use them in the hive. And they tend to put honey up high in the hive and around the brood, kind of as an insulator. And then the pollen,
What's brood?
brood are baby bees, baby bees.
Is it that picture over there?
Yes, actually. There's a picture of a queen. She's about twice as long as a worker bee. She has a long, skinny abdomen shaped sort of like a torpedo. And then all of those other bees around her are female. And underneath the cappings of each one of those cells, it looks sort of like a quilt. Underneath those cappings is a baby bee that's doing her metamorphosis from a larvae to an adult bee. She will hatch out of that cell, and she'll be a fully formed adult bee when she comes out.
See, everybody thinks that all the honeycomb has honey in it, but most of the honeycomb is actually utilized to raise their young.
Right.
But is the honeycomb?
It's exactly the same as the comb that they would put baby bees. So that frame that I'm holding, we have to have removable frames. That's one of the laws that we have in Florida, so that we can inspect them for health and disease. So those frames, we give them to the bees, and the bees draw the honeycomb in that frame. So that is honeycomb.
Gotcha.
That one has baby bees. That one has baby bees. But the bees typically will put honey up high. So when we make honey, we put on the hive what we call a honey super. We put another box on top. And since the bees have the natural tendency to want to put the honey up high, they pack that honey super with honey. When it's time to pull it, we come and we can pull a whole box of honey off the hive.
So it's almost like an air fryer. I'm not being funny. I mean, like an air fryer has like the trays. You put different trays in the air fryer. I don't know. I just got an air fryer. It reminded me when you were saying about trays and pulling them out and in.
It's nothing like it, but we'll go with it.
Okay.
We'll go with it.
All right. I tried it. It was a
Love
long
our air
shot.
fryers.
It was a long shot. It was a long shot.
I just remember my grandmother used to get the wherever from the local area. She used to get the honey, and it used to come in like the glass jar, and it had the honeycomb like.
Oh, yeah.
And as a kid, I used to pull it out and I used to eat it.
Mm-hmm.
My grandma had
I
that
still
too.
love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now,
Beekeepers don't make a lot of that anymore. I mean, the bees still make it, but we put the bees on on plastic foundation. So there's a plastic piece in the middle of the honeycomb to make it rigid so that we can spin the honey out, because the comb is really expensive for the bees to make. It's a lot of work for them to make it. So every time we give you a piece of honeycomb, it's like stealing our ability to make more honey in the next crop.
Why is it so hard for them to make it? Because all you hear about is honey.
They have to eat. 8 pounds of honey for every 1 pound of wax that they make.
Shit.
Yeah.
So the beehive is made out of beeswax, right?
Yeah.
And they eat the nectar or honey and convert those sugars into the beeswax.
That's hard. Think how much we use beeswax with. Beeswax. Hair,
Furniture,
hair gel,
polish,
furniture,
lip balm.
surfing.
You know,
Wow.
Yeah.
sex wax.
Sex wax?
But
That'd be an interesting lubricant, I guess.
no, it's for surfboards. You never heard?
You have a dirty mind.
I don't know. He said sex. I wasn't thinking of surfboard when he says that.
Yeah.
Now, back in the day, before they could be trucked there, did they know to fly to California, or what happened? Or there was just no bees in California?
No, the thing is, people had small farms, right? Like on your farm, you would have an almond tree, a peach tree, fucking carrots and alfalfa. You'd have all this stuff, right? You would have a variety. And all of those things bloom at a different time. So there's year-round food for the bees to eat. In the whole entire Central Valley of California, it's like dirt and stick trees, right? During the time of the year when the almonds are blooming, there is nothing else in bloom. And because there's so many almond trees, there's nothing else. So the bees literally starve. So it's something that we've created, right? We've created these monocultures and monocrops, and there's no variety. So pollinators can't survive there except during those few weeks that one crop is in bloom.
Okay.
It's called industrial farming.
I
We've had to go to industrial farming to feed the world.
Gotcha.
Because there's so many people. We've moved away from small farms all over the place, right, to one big farm, like California, almonds, growing it for 80% of the world, right?
Okay, so this wasn't something that, say, 1,000 years ago was
This is
happening.
recent.
No.
This is because the population, the demand got so
Industrialized
big.
farming.
These idiots are
monocrops.
cutting everything down, so now you have to find other places to
Monocrop.
monocropping. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah. So we've created our own demise,
Yeah.
And
if they don't get to California for a year, then what?
Oh, man.
Oh, it
There's
has
gonna be a
it
hell
has
of a-
to
It has to happen.
It has
It
to
has to
happen.
And the farmers pay. They pay good money for beekeepers to bring bees in.
That's the only thing keeping the beekeeping industry alive.
Now, with the economy and the inflation, how has that affected this?
Oh, the trucking. Oh,
I can only
OMG.
imagine.
Yeah,
Trucking bees to
we used to
California is
spend
insane.
$7,000 one way for our bees to go from Florida to California.
Which is reasonable, right? I would
Yeah.
think.
So last year it was 12,000.
Oh, boy.
Okay, so almost doubled.
What's the
And they
share
said
of
this year it's going to
here?
be $18,000 to $20,000 one way.
That's-
And the price of pollination, the farmers aren't paying more,
That's almost 3 times the price.
and so
You're pushing 3 times.
and
the
so
price.
now those expenses are getting higher and higher and higher. Guys are going to say, I just can't afford to take the bees out.
Does that really concern you guys a lot? As far as that?
Well, there's a lot of things going on at the same time because California's in the biggest drought in history,
Yeah.
right? So they're actually pulling almond trees out because they can't water them. And so the demand for bees is going to go down because
There's no trees.
the less trees. And so where it ends up,
This guy's
nobody,
killing everything.
nobody
Man.
knows.
He's killing everything, this guy.
So,
Wow. That's interesting.
but the honey, we harvest the honey, and we came up with Palm Beach creamed honey because we didn't want to, just put honey on the shelf and compete with everybody else, liquid honey. So we actually cream the honey. And so when we went to start the business, we started as the creamed honey company, right? And I said, hey, we got to buy that domain, and not even thinking about it, right? So we go and it's like this domain's like $8,000. We're like, nobody has creamed honey. Why is this domain so high, right?
Creamed honey.
Creamed honey, baby.
What made you guys want to start it, though?
We think it was a
how'd
porn
you-
site or
Yeah, that's what it
something,
sounds like, right? Yeah.
But how did the idea come about? Because prior to it, you're pollinating, you're doing everything, and now you decide to come out with the business. How'd you think of the name? What made you want to do it? How did it all come about?
It's your baby,
And you
so.
two, how did you two come about to be together in the business to do it?
So how'd you come up with this great idea to spend all this money?
all our money?
All Al's money.
And eat ramen for 2 years?
Yeah.
Been there, done that one. I know that feeling.
Oh, this is a great idea. We
Yeah.
could take all our life savings and pour it into
Yeah. And then Al, you look in the mirror after a year that ramen
he's
noodles
like-
and your face is like this from all the salt and shit, right? And then you got sugar to eat.
Hey,
so
what
all
are you-
you're eating
what
is
are you saying,
sugar,
dude?
carbs, and salt. No, you look great.
Thanks.
I'm saying that. I'm saying maybe in the
Damn.
beginning.
I was starting to get. Are we going friendly here?
I'm saying, I meant like early
You look
on.
great, Al. You
Early
look
on.
great, Al. You look great.
Good. Let's go.
I meant early
So
on.
how'd you start this monstrosity?
Oh, man. So Al and I went to the International Beekeepers Conference called Apimundia, which is actually happening right now in Turkey. It was in Turkey one year, then it was in South Korea, and then it was in Brazil, and then it was in Montreal. And when it was in Montreal in 2019, Al and I went, and they had this brand new machine there that made creamed honey.
Oh, you guys didn't want to go to South Korea or North
I
Korea,
would have.
maybe?
I would have. Yeah, right. So I fell in love with that machine. Creamed honey is really difficult to make. It's time consuming. It takes a very long time. It's like a mixing. Think about whipping and refrigerating, right? Because all of our nectar sources in South Florida will crystallize. So it gets that crunchy granules that I love. But so many people are like, my honey went bad and I had to throw it away. No, your honey didn't go bad. It's delicious like that.
See, I would
right?
want the crunch.
Does honey go bad?
I love the crunch.
You
No,
like the
raw
crunch, Al?
honey does not go
I was gonna say, I
bad.
don't
Do you like the crunch?
Well, so you know what she's talking about when the
Yeah.
honey crystallizes.
Yeah.
You take a big spoon of it. It's like you have sugar in your mouth.
Yeah.
Right. Well, now I'm going to let you try creamed honey.
So creamed honey is crystallized honey, but the crystals are so small that it gives a creamy consistency. You can't detect those crystals on your tongue.
So
it's silky smooth.
It's all about the texture.
And that's vanilla. That's got
That's
vanilla
vanilla.
in it. So it's silky smooth.
It is silky smooth. And good.
You should have asked him if he
And
liked
tastes like
vanilla
vanilla.
first.
Right, Val.
Tommy's deathly allergic to vanilla.
I like
Now who's blowing up like a balloon?
I don't know. I hope you got a fucking EpiPen, 'cause I don't know. Anybody got an EpiPen here? I don't fucking know. Well, Al,
It'll be a first on the podcast.
But you feel the smoothness.
yeah, it really is smooth.
So
Smooth as
in nature, when it starts forming those crystals, the first sugar crystal that
I could see this making somebody fat as fuck.
Yeah.
'Cause you could eat this and eat this. Next time you see
Right.
me, I'll be 500 pounds because you
actually you want to know the facts. You can eat honey, and your body doesn't process it like processed sugars, right?
Yeah, it doesn't process like a simple sugar. It does it like a
It's
complex.
Yeah.
And
I was
so,
just joking.
so your body absorbs it immediately and uses it. It doesn't store it.
Yeah.
You eat sugar, from the mill, and it has to break it down, and in the process, it'll store it. And so, I don't know that you can become a beef eater.
I was trying to sound smart with that. The only reason I know that was because when I was boxing prior to like a fight, like a Golden Glove fight, my trainer would always put honey in my water before.
Instant energy.
Smart.
And I asked him why. And that's how I knew it was a complex carb. It's like a simple and complex because it hits you, but it's complex where it's like slowly digestive, but when it does hit, it hits it full.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like a simple carb hits you right away, you get the sugar high, and then you have that come down.
Yeah.
Complex is slow, whatever, like oatmeal or whatever, but this is better.
Yeah. So in nature, the first crystal it forms is large in size. And so then every crystal after that is identical. So they're all large crystals. So we seed the honey with a microcrystal. And so every crystal after that is a microcrystal, and you can't feel them. So it's all about a texture thing. There's no cream in the honey. It's a creamy feel to the honey. And because it's a semi-solid, at that point we can add powders to it, and they won't float out. And so are you a spicy guy?
Yeah.
You like spicy?
Yeah.
You like really spicy?
Do you like smoky spice?
Or spicy?
I like smoky spice.
Smoke.
Oh, that's my
spicy.
favorite. The
Yeah.
Chipotle is.
So-
no, it's the other
How many
one.
different flavors do you guys have?
And it is
13.
smooth. It's
Yeah.
not, it tastes kind of creamy, but not creamy.
And this
But
is where the restaurant comes in. Your taste testing
You gotta
stuff,
try
right?
this,
You're
Rob.
trying it,
Yeah.
right? That's basically what you're doing.
You want to try this, Rob? It's fucking good.
So
is
this
Chipotle.
one
This is my
Is
favorite.
Chipotle.
You can come up here, Rob.
Go ahead. Go
You
ahead.
can put it on
You're
a
good.
BLT sandwich, on chicken wings.
Wow.
We'll
Yeah.
see how spicy that is for you.
I would dip like chicken into this.
You
Yeah.
put in pretzels in there, right? Dip
Yes.
pretzels. I would do that.
Yeah.
Rob, you got to try the spicy one. You like this shit.
Oh.
Al makes candied bacon. Talk about gaining weight.
Oh,
I
tell me
gain
about
weight
that.
because
Tell-
Al
I love
cooks with
bacon.
like pounds
So-
of butter.
It's spicy.
So how do you make the bacon? How do you do that? You just
Oh my God,
dip the
it's so
bacon in
good.
it?
That'll take the heat out of your mouth.
He
That's
has
spicy.
he candies it. So he takes a spoonful of butter, a spoonful of honey, and he bubbles it and candies it on the stove. And then he dredges the already cooked bacon
almost
through
like a
it.
Heat
Oh
line pie.
my gosh.
this
And then he
sounds re-
sets it on a rack and it gets hard and crunchy.
Yeah.
It's so
It's
good.
That's
it's
awesome.
It's
Yeah.
so
It's
good.
amazing.
All right, so tell me all the things and maybe some things that you wouldn't think people wouldn't think about. What do you put honey on? Like what are some-
Nipples.
Okay, so we have a picture of that we'll pull up in a little bit. But
That's what it's best on.
what are some things like that people wouldn't food wise?
You weren't expecting that.
That
one,
wasn't.
were
That
you?
was a good one. I like that.
I gotta call my swinger friend.
What are
cream
we do
honey.
have chocolate and
creampunny.com.
raspberry. Yeah.
they can get real kinky with this? But what are some foods maybe that people wouldn't think you put honey on and it tastes amazing?
Kettle corn.
He makes kettle corn the same way as the bacon. BLT sandwich, ALT sandwich, fried chicken, bagels,
man.
tea.
Spicy one.
Do you want to go hotter?
What else? It's really good just drizzled on a fresh tomato.
I don't want to get
Really?
Which is really random. I got asked to speak at one of my country clubs at like a fancy ladies luncheon and a super fancy club right on the beach. And they invited me for lunch after, and the chef had prepared this entire menu using the honey. And I sat down for the first course, and it was literally half of a tomato. That was it. Half of a tomato on this plate. I was like, ooh, this is real fancy.
That's wild.
But then it had a drizzle of honey on it and sea salt. It was amazing.
Whoa, look
it
at
was
that.
so good. Oh,
Yeah, is
yeah,
that-
see,
did-
nipples.
Did we put honey? How did we get the bees to?
That's not honey.
How did we get them there? How did we get them there?
That's my honey.
But how did they multiply on that area there?
So usually, how do they multiply in that area?
Yeah.
So we call that a bee beard. Typically, beekeepers will do this like little stunt, right, where we put the bees on our face and they hang like a bee beard. And I was like, that's no fun. I'm going to do a bikini, right? We were getting ready to go to the South Beach Food and Wine Festival. So it's a whole preparation process. I took 2 days to prep the bees to do this. I caged their queen. I shook all of the bees from the hive into a box. I put them in the air conditioning overnight and I fed them sugar syrup. So they all gorged on nectar and they got nice full tummies. And then the next morning I took a sewing needle and I sewed that queen cage to my shirt. I just have like a nude colored tank top on. And then Al just started putting handfuls of bees on my boobs.
We did put some, we put some queen pheromone on there also.
Oh yeah, and I put a little bit of Vaseline up higher on my chest to keep them from crawling up my neck. I really wanted them to concentrate on my boobs, so I did put a little Vaseline. They don't like crawling past that.
Why
So
don't
it
they
was
like
a whole-
Vaseline?
It's like oily, right on there. They don't like
they
that.
don't like that slippery
feeling.
shit, right?
That's how we keep ants out of the beehive too.
Really?
The ants don't like to crawl past the Vaseline either.
How many stings did you get on that one?
So none.
Get out.
Until I went to go shake them off, and when I shook my boobs, I like motorboated a few back in between my cleavage, and I got stung probably 5 times between my boobs at the end. After like 2 hours, no stings, just
Al, did you help
shaking.
Did you help her put ointment on after she got stung?
I used honey.
Pull up the website,
Yep.
and we'll go through the website. Go through all of it so everybody can see everything.
Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
that was a fun day.
So here we are.
The bees were very
So that's on Amazon. If you go on Amazon, you're looking for Palm Beach creamed honey. But if you're looking for the website, it's the Creamed Honey Company. So creamedhoney.com is the website. And on Amazon, you would just search Palm Beach creamed honey, and it comes up, all the different flavors. That's our variety pack down below.
So you sell them in bigger sizes, and then these trial size,
Yeah,
trial size, whatever you want to call it,
Small
right?
size, yeah.
Coffee too, the coffee thing.
So the coffee is just being loaded up to Amazon right now, so it's not on Amazon. It's a brand new product.
Okay.
Not a lot of people have tried it yet, so you're one of the first.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it is.
And so the coffee is available on our other website, which is BEE, the number 10 coffee.com. B10.
I'll pull that up. Yeah.
Yeah, b10coffee.com. So, but it is coming to Amazon. We're having the pages developed, but Amazon's like a beast itself. Learning how Amazon works and getting product to them. But a lot of people are like, "Oh, I don't like using Amazon." But Amazon gives us, the small guy, right, the ability to sell nationwide.
Masses, yeah.
We wouldn't be able to sell nationwide. We'd be standing along the street and having like a farmer's market.
Can you guys track like where you've sold to? Like
Everywhere,
have you
all
sold
over the
world-
U.S.
worldwide?
Alaska.
Worldwide or
No,
not yet?
we're only in the U.S.
Okay.
But we've sold honey to Alaska.
Yeah.
Alaska.
And so they do all the
four
distribution.
corners.
And some people are like, I'd rather go to your website. You'll make more money, right? And it's like, no, we actually make more money when it's sold on Amazon because they ship in such bulk. So the shipping is so less for them. It costs us almost $2 more to ship from our
And it
own
will
website.
take 10 days to get there, even
Yeah.
if you do prior.
Exactly.
Believe me, I know.
Yeah.
You
And
know.
so it's that good and bad, right? Amazon is huge, but it helps out the
But you need
little
it,
guy.
though.
Yeah.
You need it, though.
So
when you guys are selling on Amazon, do you send the product to them and then they ship it?
Yeah,
Is
it's
that how that
available
works?
Prime. Yeah, it's called Fulfilled by Amazon.
Yeah.
FBA.
That was a great move to go Prime because I know every time I go on, I go right to all Prime,
Yes.
just like everybody else.
Yeah.
You know,
Is the Amazon truck at your house every week?
it's
Every
there
day?
every day. Every day it's there. It's
Tommy
here,
has
here
a package here every day.
every day, either here or at the house, every
too.
single day.
Us
It's just
too.
convenient. It's faster. It's easier. I don't have time to do this whole store bullshit and
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah.
So
Oh no, I'm
convenient.
that way with my kids. They're like, I need shampoo. I'm like, order it on Amazon.
Either
We live in the
Amazon or
middle of
Instacart,
nowhere.
right?
Yeah.
One of the
Yeah.
two.
a whole
we
new
don't, We
world.
don't get Instacart where we live. We're rural. We're too rural for that.
Yeah, you're out in the boonies.
Yeah,
That's what we
middle
call it in PA.
middle
We
of
call it the
nowhere.
boonies. Yeah.
Middle of nowhere.
Wait till you guys to get that coffee on Amazon. This shit is the bomb.
So this is the site
Yeah.
though here, right? What I
Yeah,
have
that's
up?
the site.
Yep, that's the
So-
B10 coffee.
So take us through this, Al the Bee guy.
And see, the B is for the honey.
Yep.
The 10 is 10% goes to save the honeybees, and the coffee is to enjoy. So B10 coffee. Everything's better beaten.
One of the first posts he did on Instagram, he did some kind of post about beaten coffee, and the first comment he ever got, right? So it's like so exciting, right? It's like you first have your Instagram page, you get your first notification. Some guy was like, beaten my dick.
Enjoy my coffee while I'm beaten.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God.
Was it the same day you got stung on your dick?
No.
That would have been good.
Different day.
That would have been interesting.
Yeah.
So you got these coffees up here. So explain what each one of them are, Al.
So
And you only need a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, that jar is going to last a while.
So we have the regular, which makes a regular cup of coffee. The Cubano, Cafe Cubano, which is your Cuban coffee, and your mocha, which is made with cacao. So it has that nice chocolate flavor. That's a great picture.
Oh
there.
shit! Look at all those
That's a
bees.
big
So
beehive.
that thing was 4 feet top to bottom, 5 feet in diameter, over 100,000 bees in that, and over 100 pounds of honey in that. And that was on a private island down in the Keys, just before Key West, Cow Island. Wow. And not only were they exposed like that, but the hive originally started inside that tree. So it was a hollow tree, and they ran out of space inside, so they extended the hive outside and just kept on
It's like their room edition.
growing. And her and I removed those bees, and it was all day long removing that hive. And we had 3 separate vacuum boxes that were full of bees because there were so many bees. And there were still a couple bees flying around in the air. And I told her, I said, hey, I don't think we got the queen. And she's like, what do you mean? And I said, the bees aren't going to any one of the vacuum boxes. They're just flying around. And if the queen's in one of the vacuum boxes, the other bees will go to that box because they smell her and they want to be with mama, right? And so they'll start congregating on the outside of the box, and we were getting no congregation on any of the boxes. And I was like, and she's like, no, we got 95.
Like all the bees, all the fucking bees are in
We
the
got
box.
95% of the bees. You know, we had to have gotten her. I'm like, I just got a bad feeling. And I walked over to this little mangrove. The thing was about this big, and she's like, what are you doing? And I grabbed like 10 bees. And I came over, and the queen
is right
and
there.
5 other
shit.
bees were with her. I was like, there she is right there.
That was the
So-
whole thing.
And so
right?
that's I guess that's where the expert comes from.
How far have you traveled to, I guess, rescue bee? Not even rescue bees, whatever. Do what you did there.
A guy flew me to the Bahamas.
Really?
Yeah, to get bees out of his vacation home. He flew me over in his private plane. We landed. I took the bees out. And
That was before I knew Al. I didn't get to go.
Oh, you didn't get the trip.
yeah.
Every time
And then the furthest would have to be California, because we actually went out to see our bees in California, and there was a swarm of bees in the tree, and I just couldn't resist. So I went over and shook the swarm of bees. And
That's why
every
you could-
time I see that picture that's up there, like right now, I just think of the movie My Girl. Remember when the poor thing,
yeah.
he dies, Macaulay Culkin
People say that all the
dies.
time. When I say I'm a
Nice.
beekeeper, people are like,
Yeah.
oh, that movie.
I
My
know. I
Girl."
think of poor Macaulay Culkin who dies.
I just think run. run. But look at that. Beekeepers across the United States lost 45.5% of their managed honeybee colonies from April 2020 to 21.
yeah.
Wow.
So
It's almost half.
yeah, just think if you were a cattle farmer and you lost half of your cows every year,
Oof.
right? So we lose 45% of our
That's
bees
half.
every year.
Crazy.
That's half.
But it's a numbers game, right?
Yeah.
So we have
God
to
for that queen.
we have to produce more bees than what we actually need. So if we want, 500 colonies to go out to California, we have to produce 1,000 to make sure that we have 500 that are ready to go.
Now, is a I know it's not a bee. Well, maybe it is. Let's see. Is a yellow jacket and a wasp?
Sure. Can you
Yeah.
move that phone a little
Bee.
bit? I think it's hidden. There's so many wires under there. Like whatever.
it's-
That's what
okay.
that little buzz is. Sorry.
Is a yellow jacket or a
They're all bees.
wasp? They're all considered bees.
No, well,
Well-
they're the same. Aren't they like the same class or something? Al would
Yeah.
know better about that. But they're different. Wasps are different than bees. They're meat eaters.
What?
Yeah.
Wasp
Wasps
or
are
meteor?
meat eaters?
Certain times of the year, they're meat eaters. They eat other larvae. They'll actually go in the beehive and steal out of the beehive.
Really?
Those assholes, huh?
You know why bears go into a beehive?
They're nuts.
The honey.
No.
No, the honey. Sugar, right?
No. They're actually going after the larva for the protein.
The
Oh,
babies.
when they go to hibernate.
Yeah, when a bear goes through like a termite mound,
Yeah.
they're going for the larva to get the protein.
Makes total
The same thing with the honeybee hive. The larvae are inside the comb, right? And so they're eating the comb to eat the larva to get the protein, but then they get dessert while they're there. They're eating the honey too.
What a role these bees play in.
Yeah, you don't
Wild,
realize
right?
the stuff that they. Wow,
No, not at all. Not at all.
that's wild.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you have the coffee. When you guys gonna have that on Amazon and fully out there? You think?
So that should be within the next 30 days. It'll be on Amazon.
The product actually debuts at the New York Coffee Festival the weekend of October 7th, 8th, and 9th.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Good for
Yeah.
us.
And get a load of this, right? So we're beekeepers.
Yeah.
We're not coffee baristas, right? And so,
Now you are.
so I said, hey, let's launch the product at the New York Coffee Festival. So let's get a booth, and it's like the largest coffee event in the United States. And so I call up the lady and said, hey, I'd like the table, blah, blah, blah. And she asked me about the product. I said, it's a new product. This is what we're doing. She went to the website and she's like, hey, I want you to talk.
Oh, speak.
And I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah, I think this would be great. I think if you're not afraid to get up on stage, I'm like, if you fucking put me on stage, you're gonna have a hard time getting me off. And she's like, perfect.
That's cool.
And so I'm gonna be talking to all these professional coffee guys, right? And who am I? I'm just a bee guy, And so this thing is either gonna go screaming high or it's gonna fall like a rock, because all these, expert baristas are gonna be like,
Yeah.
this tastes like shit. oh, fuck! Or they're going to be like, this is the best copy I've ever had. You know?
One of the two, right?
No in between.
No between, yeah.
No in between.
You guys will know right away.
Right away.
If they do the Zuckerberg when he was when he was testifying and he does with the water cup,
Yeah.
remember he did that shit? If he does that, run.
Yeah.
If he doesn't do that, you're in good shape.
Good shape.
Or they don't do that. But
So
congratulations.
It's going to be a win or lose, you know. So I'm speaking at this thing, and I have this feeling that, they're going to be like,
He hopes they like it.
When
You'll
is
be there
this?
with him,
When is
right?
this?
who's
Yeah,
this
yeah.
guy?
Oh, yeah.
October 7th, 8th,
In
and
New
9th.
York, you said?
In New York,
You got shit.
so-
She'll get you together.
you know. So I'm going to speak,
he's
you know.
awesome.
Yeah.
And, you know, after the speech, everybody's going to rush right over to our booth.
Yeah.
You know?
You're going to fascinate the hell out of people.
Just
That,
bring her and have the bees swarm around
Yeah,
the boobs,
take
and
my
maybe it'll
bikini.
be. Yeah.
So I'm going to call her and say, I just got done talking. Take your top off.
that'll save it. Just
You know?
in case. Just in case.
Just in case.
That'll be like the
Yeah.
the handoff or whatever the hell they call
And
it.
she'll be like, I don't have any bees. I'm like, perfect. Perfect. Perfect.
Go find some. All right.
Perfect.
You do love boobs.
Yeah.
bees and boobs.
Bees and
Bees. The
boobs.
bees.
Bees, honey, and boobs.
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah.
Rob, go to the slides.
Oh yeah, that's this one.
Yep. All right.
Okay.
So let's start with go to the beginning,
Yep, hold
and
on.
then each one of you, if you guys could explain what they are.
Oh, the first picture will be Al. I already know what the first picture is.
Okay, so explain this one
that
here.
one?
So,
No,
That's your
No,
favorite.
the first one.
Sorry guys, hold on.
Oh, he's trying to get to the first one.
It's not letting me go all the way back for some reason.
Well, the first picture is a picture of the honey and a bottle of gin,
Trying to get it.
which is one of our very favorite.
See, it won't. let me-
maybe
drink.
just refresh it.
Let's try. it.
Yeah. We'll just cut that out.
Here we go.
No.
Nope. Well,
all
I
right.
don't know what's going on with it, but
That's
anyway.
okay.
There's what is that?
So it's our favorite gin.
there
it is.
It's called Prescribed Spirits, and it's made right here in Fort Lauderdale. And it is an awesome gin. But if you take a little bit of honey and mix it with just a little bit of water and dissolve it and put the gin and that honey over ice,
Is that
so
the?
good.
it's heaven.
Did you guys bring that drink for her wedding? What was the drink? That was the drink at your wedding?
No.
No, there was like a Chipotle margarita.
Or the ginger turmeric and
Oh, that
vodka.
was it. I think it was the ginger turmeric and vodka.
Yeah.
I had that.
Yeah.
I went to her wedding, and oh man, that was amazing.
We took that to the South Beach Food and Wine Festival in Miami,
So good.
and it took second place.
Did it really?
Tito,
Wow,
Tito
congratulations.
sponsored us.
Tito sponsored
Yeah,
it.
it was
Wow,
awesome.
congratulations.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
We had Josh Sagman in. I don't know if you know. He's the main guy for Tito's.
Yeah.
He owns the meat market,
Okay.
or not owns. He's
something.
somehow in cahoots with that.
So any of the honeys, you can actually make a simple syrup out of it and use it for mixed drinks. So you can take the lime and the chipotle honey and mix it with a little bit of water, pour it over ice, add your tequila, and you have a smoky, spicy margarita.
And this has so much flavor. I think it would take, if you don't like the taste of alcohol, I don't know too many people that do. But if, straight alcohol, if you throw that in, I can't see that not bearing that nasty, aftertaste of alcohol.
So good.
Yeah,
right? Or even as a chaser, you could use a teaspoon of
the
it too.
the Palm Beach Bartenders Guild just came out to the farm and did a tour, and they all sampled drinks made with Palm Beach creamed honey.
And you guys just used. I saw the Twisted Trunk, the beer. You have
Oh,
a beer
yeah.
that has that mixed. To explain that, the beer, how that works.
I know nothing about beer. I love the way it tastes. I'm happy to go
But
drink
what do you?
it.
So-
what do you
But
do?
so
Just
we
give them a
gave
whole
them,
bunch?
yeah, with Twisted Trunk for this new beer release that we did, the Loxahatchee Lager. We donated the honey, and then I don't know what percentage of the proceeds for that beer go towards helping the Palm Beach County natural areas. So everything was for a good cause, right? Like we gave them the beer. They used other local ingredients like orange peel or lemon peel and a few other lemongrass, and they made the beer, and it's delicious.
Yeah, I gotta
It's
go
really
try that.
nice.
That's so cool. You guys are really blowing up.
We like to have fun,
All right, Al. So how does it work in the beer?
So during the fermentation process of the beer, they'll add the honey, and it increases the sugar content. So the yeasts inside the beer feed on the extra sugar in the honey, and so it makes the alcohol content a little bit higher in the beer, yet it leaves a slight flavor from the honey. And then after fermentation, they'll add a little bit more honey, which then doesn't get consumed by the yeasts. And so then you get a heavier honey taste coming forward in the beer.
And based on what you just said, the way it messes with the yeast, I would think that would be less of a hangover.
No.
No, same.
Depending how much you're drinking, I guess. Right?
Yeah.
That was the one you lie
Because,
about.
because that alcohol content's a little bit higher. So.
That was the one you lie about, Al.
Oh, okay,
That was the
yeah.
one you shoot the shit.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah,
you
no.
can drink this stuff for breakfast.
No headaches. No,
Nothing.
Wow. I'm sold. Okay, and then we got this one here.
Brussels
Sarah,
sprouts.
take us through this
Oh
one.
my gosh, this is one of our favorite ways to use the spicy honeys is on roasted Brussels sprouts. You roast them in the air fryer. You talk about the air fryer.
Yeah.
You roast those Brussels sprouts in there. When they're finished, you pull them out. You just toss them with a spoonful or a drizzle of one of the spicy honeys, and it's delicious. This one's got bacon on it too.
Oh.
So good.
So if you're listening to this, this is roasted Brussels sprouts, which I think are very good, which my mom actually was very happy that I liked.
Nice.
Not many.
As a kid, you liked
I
them?
did.
Yeah,
I did.
so did
I
I.
like to crunch
That's
them.
amazing.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
so good.
And bees are doing all this.
Yeah.
You know.
Ooh, that's a
Ooh.
nice steak there.
No, that's lamb.
Lamb.
Oh my God.
Lamb.
So lamb and ginger turmeric honey.
I thought he was crazy when he's like, I'm going to make this rack of lamb with ginger turmeric honey. I was like, you're a little crazy.
So what happens with the honey
It's so good.
is you can use it two different
So
ways. You can actually put it on the rack of lamb or put it on a steak, and it'll caramelize. So think of a honey ham, honey baked ham, where it gets that caramelization on top.
Ooh.
So if you put it on before, it's going to caramelize and give you one flavor set. But as the lamb comes out or the steak comes out, you can drizzle a little bit more on, and it just melts with the heat from the meat, and it just adds a whole different dynamic.
What do you like better? I think I would like it better cooked in it.
You know, it's just
Personal preference.
yeah, it's just two different styles of using the honey.
Sarah, which do you like better? Do you like it
I like
cooked
it
within?
caramelized on it. Yeah.
You like it on
Yeah.
top?
Yeah, I
too.
do.
So I
Except
would wanna-
with the Brussels sprouts, I like to toss in after, or even chicken wings tossed after. But on this, on meat like that, I
That
like
spicy
it
one's
caramelized.
That's really good.
Yeah, it's good.
That's making me hungry now.
I know, right? It's almost dinner
That's
time.
the same.
That's your steak there.
Yep, that's a steak.
Oh.
So once the steak is cooked, you can take the jalapeno, the habanero. We have 3 different spices, right? So our competition on Amazon for hot honey, right? I won't say who it is, but it's just hot. You know, it's hot honey.
There's
And-
no pepper flavor. It's just spicy,
It's hot.
heat in your mouth, and then sweetness of honey.
And so I said,
You
when,
can write it down and tell me, and I'll say it.
when,
Oh no, I'll say. I mean, they sell a fuck ton of honey on Amazon.
yeah.
Do I?
It's Mike's Hot Honey.
Mike's
I
Hot
mean,
Honey.
it's delicious on something if you don't care about the flavor of whatever peppers you're using.
Yeah. So I said, when we put our honey out, you know,
Good night,
I want
pal.
I want it to have flavor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we chose jalapeno, habanero, and chipotle, and actually it's jalapeno, chipotle, and habanero, and that's the level of heat also. So the jalapeno is the least spicy, but you
From,
can actually
from Pennsylvania, jalapeno.
Jalapeno. I heard that too.
Jalapeno.
Yeah. Jalapeno.
jalapeno,
Jalapeno.
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 It gets worse.
and the habanero. You didn't try the habanero. You
That's the hot
yeah,
one.
you should. You
It's
should
so-
try
Yeah,
it.
let's see it.
because
Let's
it
see
is
it.
very good.
Fuck off, Rob.
Let's see him do this. Go.
Now-
Got
Fuck
water
off,
there.
Rob.
Here you go.
Fuck off, Rob.
Now, what I want to tell you, and you're gonna
Don't worry, you're gonna be doing this. too, pal.
and you're going to tell me that you're going to be like, yeah, that's exactly what happened. So you're going to get the flavor first to the front of your mouth and enjoy the flavor. And then the heat is going to hit you at the back of the throat.
Thank you. I can't wait.
Let's see the facial expression. We'll mark
I can
down.
eat hot
But
shit.
you taste the flavor. So you actually get flavor with the honey. And, and then you get that heat at the end.
You're 100% right. You get the flavor first, and now it's hot as hell.
Yeah,
It's hot.
yeah, it's hot.
It's hot.
Right?
It's
You
hot.
got to give
like-
him lime next.
Yeah, he had the lime
Clear
for
as
the
hell.
other one. But,
But that jalapeno honey
But
is
it's not insanely hot.
No.
But I'm Italian, so I can
So
handle
Al,
it.
I got a question for you while you give
And
him
this is
another.
the-
So are you, right?
that's the key lime pie.
And this is the chaser.
Yeah, it tastes just like key lime pie, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
So I like to make. I haven't made it in a while, but I have a dehydrator, and I'll do like beef jerky. Can you? What would be? Can I like put the honey on the beef before I put it in the dehydrator?
Yeah, you can. You can dehydrate it, but it's probably going to be still sticky when it comes out. You're not going to dehydrate it down to the point where it loses the stickiness.
Oh my gosh, though, have you guys
candy it? Candy it.
What do you mean? How do I do that? Tell me.
So once your meat is dehydrated, so let it cool. It's just sitting out room temperature. You take one of the spicy honeys and you take one dab of butter and put it in a nonstick pan. Then you take 2 heaping tablespoons of one of the spicy honeys, and you have a rubber spatula, and you bring that to a bubble.
Okay, yeah.
And you keep stirring it as it's bubbling. So 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes, you're going to continue to stir it. And what you're doing is you're taking the moisture out, and you're candying the honey.
Sugars.
And so then drag your beef jerky.
Hard then when it hardens, right?
Yeah, drag the beef jerky both sides and throw it onto a piece of parchment paper. Let it cool, and you're going to have a candy shell on top of the...
I think you could do it on the beef jerky, though. Have you had that Korean pork jerky from Costco?
Mm-mm.
Good.
So good. And I imagine that if you used either the habanero
you
or
can
the
do it.
chipotle, it would taste
But
like that.
it might be a little sticky
Yeah.
when it comes out. So.
And Sarah, how much overall better for you would you say this is versus a steak sauce, ranch, whatever it may be, that's got 10,000 different chemicals in it to make it taste the way it does, or like a light ranch that they put all kinds of shit in it to make it light?
Yeah, well, there's no chemicals in this. I mean, it's 2 ingredients. It is honey and jalapeno or habanero or chipotle. That's it.
So
2
if you're
ingredients.
listening to this, this is all natural, pretty much.
All natural.
All natural. No
And the honey is still raw.
It's still raw, which is unique to our creamed honey. Most creamed honeys are heated first to eliminate every single crystal that's in the honey before they cream it. And we don't have to do that with our machines. We're very lucky to be able to keep the honey raw and unfiltered, so you still have your pollens in there for any kind of allergies. And we put 3 seasons in every jar. So we start the year off with a blend of honey that's spring, summer, and fall. And so you have all 3 seasons that we collect honey in every single jar.
Oh, wow.
So the pollen is from different
What do you have, big
seasons.
Big containers, or what is this?
We have an 800-gallon tank that we do our blend in.
Yeah.
And I'm not joking with this. So if people would use this on their steak, their food, stuff like that, the age of death might go up. Men now die at 72, 73. I know his dad's still alive. My grandpa died
Is it
at
that
88.
low? 72 or 73?
Yeah, 73. For men, women, you guys outlive us.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's because of all the shit they put in and everything.
Yeah, there's a lot of chemicals in our food. A lot. Read your labels, right? How many things can you produce, or do you know what they are? Can you go to the store and buy those things? No.
And 100 years ago, there wasn't all this ADHD and cancer like this and everything else. So it had to come from something.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, gut health is super important.
Yeah. So I think it's from all the pesticides and the man-made bullshit that they put in everything to make it last longer. I always say this, but a friend of mine, he opened up a store called iSnacks. And what he did was he got all kinds of food from Japan, China, Korea, everywhere. And when he brought it in, he brought in, let's just say Sprite. A Sprite from China, Japan, and U.S., all these other countries. You taste ours and you taste theirs night and day. Coke in China, Japan, Korea,
Really?
Vietnam.
Culturally formulate.
This episode is sponsored by Aurora. Do you know what the fastest growing crime in America is? For years, this crime rate has been surging and affecting millions of Americans. I'm talking about identity theft, and there's a new victim every 14 seconds. Yet despite this, those who have had their identity stolen are often shocked when it happens. That's why I'm excited to partner with Aurora, who is sponsoring this video. Aurora is identity theft protection, fraud monitoring, a VPN, password management, and antivirus software all into one easy-to-use app. Their VPN allows you to stay anonymous online by keeping your browsing history and personal information safe and encrypted. Protect you and your family from America's fastest growing crime. Try Aurora for free for 2 weeks and see if you or anyone in your family's personal information has been compromised. Start your free trial today. Go to aurora.com/MSCS. The link is in the description below. Well, they don't put shit in it.
That's right.
The expiration date's like 6 months, whereas the U.S. is a year and a half.
Whoa.
So the taste is completely different. So then we tried a Dorito, like a Dorito from here, a Dorito from 4 or 5 other countries. Completely different taste. Expiration date again. Maximum 6 months, because there's not all that shit in there.
Preservatives.
So when you see these other countries having, guys are living to 100, 110, fucking Pope is, he was what, like 111, raping kids or whatever he does.
Honey is a natural preservative.
Yeah.
Right? They found honey in Egyptian tombs that was over 3,000 years old, and it was still edible.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I believe
Never
it.
goes bad.
Incredible.
So now
Never
think,
goes bad.
when that shit happened with the Ice Age and everything else, if you had honey around, you could survive, whether you were an animal, plant, whatever, microbe, or any type of organism, right?
Yeah.
It's very possible
And did you know they used honey in warfare?
to stay alive, right?
No.
For what?
So certain honey, when the bees go to azalea and take the nectar from the azalea flower,
Poisonous?
it's poisonous.
Wow.
And so they would have jars of honey in the camps. And if the camp would get overrun, the enemy would eat the honey and they wouldn't be able to fight.
And whack them out. What
Yeah.
a move.
I just learned this. I
That's
just
a
learned
hell of
this
a
the other
move.
day.
Yeah.
That's a power move.
Power move right there.
That's a power move. That's a big time power
That's
move.
fucked up.
Hey, it's war.
It's war. And
Okay.
hey, there's your bong.
Yeah. There it is.
The bee bong.
So tell me about this one here. Sarah, tell me about this one.
Pure honey.
So pure honey straight out of the beehives, right? And that's our smoker, our best friend. And what's interesting, I mean, we're in August, coming into September. I don't know if it's as obvious to you guys as it is to me, but where he's got the cursor of the mouse there, that is honey up at the top. And do you see how it's almost like a bright neon yellow?
Yeah.
That's from the Brazilian pepper tree. When the bees make honey on that nectar flow, they create that super, super yellow wax. So that picture was taken during the Brazilian pepper honey flow, and that's going to start in about 3 weeks here in South Florida.
Yeah. But you can see the difference. Just below that is the brood, right? And that has a silk capping over the top. And the honey, which is above, like Sierra was telling you, they like to put the honey above, is a wax capping. And so the wax capping is over the honey, and the silk is over the larva.
So now, will that brood ever become anything, or it just stays?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll hatch out
Young
as
bees.
baby
It
bees.
will hatch
Every
out.
21 days, it hatches out.
And then the queen will relay eggs after it hatches out, and it'll happen again.
So cool and so amazing.
That's neat, right?
Really
One-
interesting. Wow.
1,000 to 2,000 eggs a day.
Wow.
For 3 to 5 years, the queen will lay.
Is there any other thing on Earth that is equivalent to anything like, I guess, ants, maybe, right?
You know what? I think about that all the time. Like, we love bees, right? We know all this shit about bees. I think there's probably people who are this level excited about ants or cockroaches
Yeah.
or bed bugs. Ah!
Yeah.
I did it.
We raise insects, and
I
that's a little
studied
freaky to
ants.
think about in certain ways.
They're pretty. Ants are pretty fucking interesting too. I studied them for a while. They're-
Really?
Yeah. They're really.
We had what's his face, our gator boy Chris, who kisses alligators, swims with them, catches them. I mean,
Yeah.
so
That's a hard
But you know what's
pass.
really weird?
Never been bit. I was like,
You know, people will say, hey, what do you do for a living? Oh, I raise bugs, you know.
Yeah.
And they look at you like, what? But I'll have $100,000 worth of bugs.
When he has a meltdown, we don't call them bees. He's like, I have all of this in bugs. He's like,
he's got a Rolls
you
Royce
know.
and bugs.
You know?
Guy.
And it's not like in our backyard. These things are, I'll borrow property to put bees on, right? So I'll have $50,000 sitting in a swamp somewhere, 20 miles away from my house, and people are like, "You just stick 50 grand out in a swamp and hope that it's there when you go back?
You got a full head of hair with all that. You guys are fucking genetics,
You know,
buddy.
it's like-
Pass it
I know,
on over
right?
here.
It's the coffee.
It's the coffee. Hey, that's my new coffee. That is the
I like
best
it.
coffee I've
It is
ever
good.
had.
That's good shit, isn't it?
I've had a lot of different type of coffee.
I just hope the baristas in New York say the same
They will.
thing.
They will because it's different. It'll be fascinating to people,
Yeah.
so it'll sell like hell.
And
It's
if
new.
if nothing else, you're saving bees while you're drinking coffee.
Yeah.
Either or, you win.
And you won't get stung.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, that's going to take off because it's new. It's different.
Yeah.
People are going to want to be like, what? And then they try it like I just did, and I'm sold. I'm not buying K-Cups anymore.
I hope so.
It's much
I'm
easier
telling
than
you,
a K-cup.
I'm
Yeah.
So
not.
easy.
Yeah.
That's good and strong, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
And you can take the paste and drizzle it over ice cream.
Oh,
But
yeah.
you can make
Yeah.
martinis with it.
You guys, do you have a cookbook or a thing? that you guys
Yeah,
sell?
we're working on it to go on the website.
Yeah.
So
you-
different
Yeah,
things.
I
you
Yeah,
can
think
do.
so
that'd be
there's
awesome.
like a
You know.
package deal.
Yeah, the first recipe is, nipple
Still
honey.
laughing.
There, yeah, that's
And-
good. I like that. Yeah. You can find this in your X-rated stores.
Yeah.
Next
Per-
to the KY jelly.
And the bee honey.
Hey, I think you're onto something there.
Yeah.
Personal question: which is the strongest of the coffees? Which is the one that will just wire you to death?
Well, it's going to be the Cubano,
the
because
Cubano. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's concentrated.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I just
it's an
want
es-
to know
it's an
which
es-
one I'm going to buy a shit ton of.
it's an espresso,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right up my alley.
and you're shooting it up. But we are developing one that has extra caffeine. So it'll be like doing a monster.
You have my number, right?
Yeah. So it'll be like you're doing a monster,
Yeah.
but it's going to be in your coffee. So it's that extra caffeine jolt that
Looking
you're going
forward
to get.
to that one.
So
Do you have a
that's soon.
decaf one?
No decaf.
You got to make a decaf.
No decaf.
That's so,
A lot
we
of
had
people
someone
like
else say
decaf.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. a lot
So
of
the
people
next
like
one
that.
out is
Indulgence.
Indulgence. And it is both cinnamons, Ceylon cinnamon and Saigon cinnamon, along with vanilla and almond. And so
It's so good.
Sounds
oh
good.
my gosh.
You got to get that amped up caffeine one, and you got to get that decaf.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Because
The
people that are
decaf will
older
be-
with heart, they can't do it.
that's what's
Yeah, my
coming.
mom
Yeah.
can't drink a lot of caffeine either.
Yeah.
She still loves the B10. She just is careful.
She just
about it.
sneaks it.
Yeah,
Fuck the doctor.
that's right. Got to do it.
I figure when you're, when you're older, whatever, go out with a bang, do whatever you want.
Something's gonna kill you, right?
Yeah, if I know I'm going out,
I just hope it's not a bang.
You want to do the beef facts?
yeah, go to the facts.
All right.
Okay, so let's go through some beef facts. Rob, read these, and
right.
you guys tell us if they're true or false. We'll start with you, Sarah.
Are these? Hold on. Are these the facts?
Yeah,
Yeah,
go back
yeah,
up.
you
Go
missed
back
it.
up.
All right. So, bees have been kept for over 4,500 years, going back to the ancient times as cave paintings show.
That is true. Absolutely. I've seen those cave.
Have you really?
paintings. Yep. I mean, not in person, just in
You've seen 'em,
books and online. Yeah.
You agree with that?
I agree with that. Hey, in the beginning, we were talking about Africanized bees, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're just more aggressive, right? They protect their hive a lot more aggressively than a European bee will. So in the very beginning of time, when people were going to trees and stealing the honey from the bees, they started choosing the bees that weren't as aggressive. And those were the ones that they started putting in skips.
That's
And
a skip.
A skep. A skep is like
Skep.
what if you thought of a beehive in a picture, it would be that little domed basket flipped upside down.
Okay.
Right? A woven basket that's upside down with a little hole for the bees to come and go from. Right? It's what you would draw a picture of, right? If you had to draw a picture of a beehive, you'd draw a picture of a skep.
And so they were choosing the ones that weren't stinging the shit out of them, right? And so they were choosing genetics, and over time they became more and more docile. And so they're more domesticated bees, European honeybees. Those are the ones that we use to make honey because they're less aggressive. But now we've shrunk down the gene pool so far that bees are having a lot of problems. So we talked about Africanized bees, and they might end up being the savior to the bee world because they were so mean that we never messed with the genetics. Nobody kept them. And so they evolved with time, and they're hardier. They don't react the same way to the stresses that European bees do. So, mixing the two, might end up being a
The way it
blessing,
goes,
a blessing
yeah.
in disguise.
So can you cross bees? Like
Yeah.
cross?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
yeah.
Oh.
So
So then we have, in ancient Egypt, honey was used as a sweetener for royalty. Honey was found in King Tut's tomb that was over
See? Yeah,
3,000
you just said that.
years
You
old.
just said
Yeah,
Still
he did.
edible.
yeah,
Here are a few things.
so that's true.
Worker bees are always females and are the
Yes.
only bees to have stingers.
Yeah,
Really? I didn't know that.
Yep.
Well, females are the only ones that have stingers?
yeah. They're
Yes,
the nasty
only
ones.
the girls.
Only the
Bitches.
girls. And everyone has
No offense to you.
That-
Vice,
Debate,
no offense taken.
I'm just
that,
kidding.
that
Sure.
different personality.
Yeah,
So
well,
you'll
I
get
know all about that.
you'll get that redhead. You'll get blonde, you'll get that.
Honeybees.
You get the redhead, you get the one with the temper.
Hey, while we're talking about that, so that queen lays an egg, right? And that if she fertilizes it, it turns into a female bee. Now, the worker bees, the young worker bees, will feed that larva, right? And it'll make that larva grow. So if they only feed that larva for 3 days and then stop feeding it, the lack of nutrition won't allow that bee to grow to full size, and it won't let the ovaries fully develop. And so it's a female worker bee. Wow. If the queen dies for some reason, the worker bees can go to a larva that's less than 3 days old and continue to feed it past the 3-day mark. And because they're feeding it for the full development time, it grows to be twice as big because of the nutrition, and it allows the ovaries to fully develop. So it becomes a queen bee. So it's the worker bees that determine the next queen. It's not the queen.
That's
Unbelievable
back
how
to you
nature
are
works.
what you eat.
Unbelievable how nature works.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And are you able to have, how do I say this? Okay, we have a nest of bees here.
Yep.
Okay, and there's only one queen bee, correct?
Yep.
So that's the nest there.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a radius where the next nest could be with another queen bee? Like, can you have?
No, we
one
can.
nest
You saw
here?
them right on the
So
pallet.
you can have them all.
We had
Okay,
6 on
so
the
they're
pallet.
all- Okay.
They'll live right next to each other as long as they're not going.
Do they ever fight?
But-
Or?
Oh, yeah.
But that is also one of the stresses that bees have, right? A man-made stress. We keep bees close together,
Yeah.
so
In
there is
nature, they
drift.
would spread apart.
In nature, they would spread apart.
And
But
they do fight though.
Yeah.
So how does that work?
They rob from one another. If one beehive is hungry, it will rob from a weaker beehive, and you have fighting in the bees.
And they kill each other? Like basically.
Oh, yeah.
You'll see dead bees on the ground
Yeah, it's a
in
bitch,
front of the
a
beehive.
bitch brawl.
How do they kill each other?
Cat fight.
How do they do it? How do they kill each other?
They sting each other. They bite each other.
Really?
Bite wings off. Chew on legs.
Wow. Shit.
Hey, if they're going to kill a queen bee, though, let's say we drop a queen bee into the wrong beehive, right? We put a different queen in there. They'll kill her by balling her. So they'll ball up around her, and they'll disconnect their wing muscles from their wings, and they work those muscles like they're flapping their wings to create body heat, and they'll roast that queen to death.
Shit.
Wow.
And you can roll that ball around in your hand. It's so tight, you can roll it around in your hand.
So they set that bitch on fire is what they did.
They're balling that bitch.
You ain't lying.
And do bees pee and poop or
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. In the hive.
and do you
The baby bees will clean up the excrement inside
Did you
the
ever
hive.
look on your car and see little yellow dots?
Yeah.
That's bee
Yeah,
poop.
that little the dot.
That's bee poop.
Really?
And most of it's pollen.
I always wonder. I always like rub it off. I'm
Yeah, and it's like a dust.
You never got it?
It's
Yeah,
like,
no,
like a
I
dot.
did. I did.
That's
yeah.
bee
Yeah.
poop.
My truck's outside if you guys want to look at some bee poop.
You got enough one? You got some on there?
Oh, yeah.
and pollen has a hard shell all the way around it, right? And so it doesn't digest well because of that hard shell. It's like us eating corn, right? You eat corn the night before, and the next morning you're like, damn.
It looks the same as the way you ate it,
I
right?
didn't chew that shit up very well. You know?
And even if you did somehow, it still looks the same,
Yeah.
right?
And so it's yellow because most of it's pollen that's coming through.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, we already know that.
And then we die of her stinging.
Give us some tougher questions.
Honey contains healing resorts and has
Yes.
been used for centuries. We know that, right?
Yeah. But another thing, honeybees, apitherapy, right? Bee sting therapy. So you'd never know that I was 80 years old. keeps you young.
Each bee has 170 odorant receptors. This sense of smell is 50 times more powerful than a dog.
Yeah.
They hate the smell of human breath.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, they don't mind the smell of human breath. When I'm working the bees, if I want to see underneath the bee blanket covering that frame, I'll blow on them.
Well, depending
they
on
don't
what
mind.
you ate, they might. Yeah.
But what
Yeah.
that goes back to.
No, I've never had
Yeah?
any bee react badly to me blowing on
But
them.
They
what
have
that-
better smell than a dog.
Yeah.
I thought it was more than 50 times. I thought it
Yeah.
was like 300 times. They can smell in parts per trillion. It's pretty incredible.
Wow.
Per trillion?
Per trillion.
Yeah.
They've used them to detect bombs.
Wow.
They train them.
They can train the bee by giving her a nectar reward after giving her the scent
I've
of
read
a
that.
bomb, and
I have
then
read
I did hear
that.
something about
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
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 Don't they use them for like, God, where was it?
I thought they used them with cocaine.
No, I thought they used it for.
I thought the cartel guy said that he got fucking popped because of bees, and we were like laughing about it.
I don't remember.
Yeah, we had a narco in,
Yeah.
and he got hit with. I mean, this was in the '80s, so when you got life, you only did 50 years, and then you did half of the 50, and if you did good behavior, you got out in 25.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure he said that part of the reason they got hit was the bees.
No
I don't
kidding.
remember.
But that thing about the breath, it goes back to bears, actually. So when bears are covered with hair, right? And so bees can't sting the bear to,
yeah.
scare the bear away. So over time, they learned that if they follow the carbon dioxide trail back, it leads them to the nose and mouth. So the bees can sting the nose and mouth,
That's where that quote comes from.
and it'll scare away the bear. So if you've ever noticed when bees are flying around you, they're flying around your head. Well, they're actually following your carbon dioxide trail coming from your breath.
So hold your breath.
So if bees are flying around your breath, you ask what to do. Don't swat and hold your breath
And walk
stand
away.
still and slowly walk away. If there's a bush or a tree near you, you can actually stand still next to the tree or bush, and they can't tell the difference between you and the bush.
So if a bee's coming after you, go by a bush, don't breathe, and just stand there and don't move, and then slowly walk the hell away.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If you run,
You're done.
your adrenaline levels go up, and they're going
They
to
can
want to
smell
chase
it.
you even
So
more.
you better
But
be
weren't-
fast to be near a door.
Weren't
Yeah.
they using bees? I thought I read somewhere they're using bees like for forensics, for like finding dead bodies or places where people were at. I thought I read something that they were using.
They
bee
can train
bee
bees.
colonies.
Yeah, they train them to smell different things.
The only
Yeah.
problem with it, though, is that the bee doesn't live very long. So you do a lot of work training that bee, and then she's
For
dead
6
in like-
weeks.
Yeah.
Right?
Not even
Yeah, like,
in captivity. It's days.
Yeah.
Gonna have to get some stem cells for those bees.
This
right?
one, this one's interesting though. It says bees are currently being used to study dementia. When a bee takes on a new job, usually done by a younger bee, its brain stops aging. That's interesting.
Now,
Also,
wow.
Al does a kids program where he teaches kids about honeybees based on the jobs they do at certain ages.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
As a biologist, what
Mm-hmm.
what do you think about that?
It makes sense, right?
Right? Because if the bees can correct it, right, we could learn from the bees how they do it.
Yeah,
And
but
or
insect brains are
different.
so simple, right?
Yeah.
Like that goes back to me in college doing research on leeches. The leech brain is very simple, right? We would study their behavior based on very few factors. So the factors are different. The magnitude, like the scale, right, is totally different.
Maybe
But you
Elon,
can
maybe
still-
Elon Musk has something
Yeah,
up
maybe-
his sleeve.
maybe.
Maybe he's got some bees
Maybe.
over there in that laboratory
He's
with that
hanging out.
fucking ball he's
Right?
shooting with my buddy Beto. I can't.
Yeah.
He's over there, and we had this guy who works with Elon in. He's from Ukraine, and he built the thing to go to the speed of light. Now Elon is building a molecule because they can go at the speed of light right now, but they can't get through the matter in space, because when you're going at the speed of light, if you throw a bee at that spaceship, it
Boom.
blows into a million pieces because you're going so fast.
Whoa.
So there's no molecule on Earth to get through it. So Elon's trying to build it, but we had his partner in, and now he's from Ukraine. So now he's in Ukraine, and I'm pretty sure he's the one who
Stuck.
shot up that satellite.
Wow.
So what about this last one? Bees can't see the color red. They do, however, see the ultraviolet color spectrum, which many flowers produce, and humans are unable to see.
This is
Really?
true. Yeah.
Wait, they only see
They can't,
can't
see red,
They don't
red.
see red.
but they
Yeah.
can see the ultraviolet
It looks
color
black.
spectrum.
It looks black. Red looks black to them. So, but ultraviolet light. So anything that glows fluorescent in a black light, bees see it. So when you walk into that rock museum and it's black light and you see all these different colors in the rocks that you wouldn't see during regular white light, that's the spectrum that bees are looking at.
Now, other than red, can they see you as you or me as me?
Yeah, they have facial recognition also. So they learn their beekeeper.
But it's multiple images.
And they learn
Because
that kid who walks by and throws a rock at the beehive
I
every
bet
day
they
on his
do.
way home
I
from
bet
school.
They, do.
Little
They just
son of a
wait
bitch.
for that
They're like-
motherfucker.
They know.
Yeah, they figure, hey, look, I got 4. I'm at my 4th week. I got 2
I
left,
got 2
kid.
weeks left. You're done.
I'm sitting here for 2 weeks, kid. I'm getting your ass. I'm going out taking you out,
Yeah.
right?
Uh-huh.
Now, Sarah, tell me about this bee porno thing.
Oh
that
my
we got
gosh, I'm
going on here.
obsessed with this.
So,
Isabella,
build this up here.
Yes, so Isabella Rossellini, she's an actress, right? And she has this brilliant series called Green Porno, where she acts out sex among insects or plant life, animal life, and they're really, really brilliant and really entertaining. And she has one about bees. So it's the Green Porno about bee sex, and it's pretty cool. It's pretty
let's play a
accurate.
little bit.
All right, Rob, let's see what we're getting into here. It's all right. The sound's already got me thrown off.
If I were a bee,
Oh, God.
a queen bee, I would be very fat
Jeez.
and do nothing else but lay eggs.
The queen bee doubles her weight while she has eggs.
The unfertilized eggs will hatch my sons. The fertilized eggs will hatch my daughters.
We already knew that.
If I were a daughter, I would be sterile, and I would do all the work.
Sterile.
I would have antennas to help me hear, and pads on my feet to smell. I would have compound eyes to see everywhere, and I would be armed with a stinger. I have many sisters, and I communicate with them by dancing.
They
I
have
tell them
corny
where the
moments.
flowers are. To one of my little sisters, I would feed the royal jelly that would make her fertile, and one day she will become the queen.
And what's
If I
actually the
were a
royal
male
jelly?
bee,
It's like
I
bee
wouldn't
milk.
have a father,
Bee milk.
and I will be called a drone. I would have many brothers, and we would do nothing, just waiting to have sex. A female, ready to mate. Sex!
Oh my God.
I would fight!
80% of the men are watching this thinking, shit, looks like my life.
I would fly after her. I would mate her in flight. It's our nuptial flight. But pulling out from her, oh, my penis will break off. Stuck in her vagina like a cork in a bottle. But it would prevent other males from mating with her. She will be queen. She would start a new colony with my babies.
That sucks. You just took her to dinner, bought her a Cartier bracelet, a Rolex, and now you're
I
dead.
would bleed to death.
All for the poo-tang. Well, good way to get people's attention if you want to learn about
Yeah.
bees.
Right?
Yeah.
No, really, seriously.
She
Now the
had-
She
queen's
left a
dead.
lot out.
Yeah, and, you
Yeah.
know.
You know.
Yeah, but it was
Very
good.
But
good.
listen, how many minutes was that? It was like 1 minute or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's pretty good.
and it keeps your attention.
It
Whose
does.
version was better?
Yours.
Yours,
Of course. You
yeah.
guys, of course. Of course.
We'll
Of
take,
course.
we'll take that.
So, what else do you got going on?
Bees.
Bees. But you got the New York thing coming up.
Yep. We just had Channel 5 News out to the farm. They came out and did a big series on us, which was nice. Ashley Walters.
Yeah, you guys got a ton. When you put in your names, you guys have a pile and pile of articles
You know why?
because you're,
We're fucking nuts.
because you're fucking
Everybody wants to come out. See, another story. There was at the Wellington Mall, there was a hive in a tree in the parking lot,
Oh,
Oh, at
boy.
Walgreens.
and at Walgreens.
I can only
And
imagine the people.
and I
on it.
saw it on the morning news, right? And I'm like, and it was all killer bees at the Wellington Mall, live, And I was like,
I don't mean to interrupt you, but can you explain to me why they call them killer bees? Do they actually kill you if they sting you?
So what happens is this strain of bees from Africa, they're honeybees, but they're from Africa. They're more aggressive, so they will protect their hive more aggressively than the European bee. And so the European hive will send out a couple hundred bees to protect the beehive, right?
Or like 10 or like 50 bees.
Yeah.
A few bees. to
Max,
protect.
a couple hundred. And so it takes, close to 500 to 1,000 bees to kill a man my size with the venom, So I would have to be stung 500 to 1,000 times to die from the venom. So a European beehive doesn't send out enough bees to put enough venom in me to kill me. Whereas an Africanized hive, they'll send out over 1,000 bees to protect the hive. And so there are enough bees to sting me to theoretically kill me. So they got the name killer bees.
So it's not actually a bee killing you. It's just that more
The
bees are
number
coming
of
out
stings.
once. Their
More
numbers are
metformin.
higher than
Yes.
other types of bees.
Yes, the
So-
number of stings that I could get from an Africanized hive is greater than a European hive, and I could actually receive enough stings to die from the venom. So, you've heard of people dying, they get stung by one bee and their throat swells
but
up.
that's an allergic
But
reaction.
that's an allergic reaction. So it's
So they're
the
not
same.
actually killer bees.
No.
And no, it's not. It's the number game.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's the only difference.
That's the only difference.
Is there any bee that can hit you one time and whack you right out?
I don't know.
Not unless you're allergic.
Unless you're allergic.
But if you're not allergic,
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Is
That's-
there?
No, it's not like some kind of snakes, right? You get bit by a
Yeah.
snake. They're
Yeah.
no.
That's so funny to hear that because all my life, whenever you hear killer bee, it's like, whoa, that one bee will kill your ass.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
That's
so
interesting. I
That's
never
amazing.
thought that that's what people might
That's
think.
what I think.
Yeah.
What'd you
So I
think?
thought
That's
that-
terrifying.
I thought it was one big bee, and if that's that killer bee, you better
That's
run
why
because
people
if that
freak
gets
out.
you better
Yeah.
go.
Right.
I really did.
So the morning news, I
Interesting.
see these killer bees at the Wellington Mall. So I was like, I got to swing by here because this is a circus going on, right? So I drove by.
All the live
Right?
trucks.
And all the live trucks were there. And
Alright.
they were waiting for somebody to come out to remove these bees. So I walked into the Walgreens. I said, "Hey, is the manager around? Can I talk to the manager?" I talked to the manager. Said, "Hey, all these people are out there, waiting for these killer bees, and you're going to kill these bees. It's not going to look good." And he's like, "Oh, that's not me. That's corporate." So I'm like, "All right." So I call up corporate, and I said, "Hey, just want to let you know that you're on the national news for killer bees."
They actually answered.
Yeah, I got public relations.
Oh, wow.
okay. And I said, "Hey, this isn't good public relations. What's going on?" And they're waiting for somebody to come and kill these bees. And it's National Honeybee Day today.
Oh.
And so it's like, I'll remove those bees alive and you'll be the heroes. You can twist this story one way or another. You're going to let them die or you're going to save them.
Was it really that day?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, right?
Wow.
And so
That would suck for him.
And so
huh?
they were like, "Hey, we'll get back with you." And so I hang up the phone. I'm thinking, because half the day goes by, right? And finally, I get this phone call, and they're like, "Hey, we got a situation with bees. Do you think you could handle it for us?" And I said, "Does it happen to be at Walgreens?" And they're like, "Yeah, that's the one." And so I was like, "Yeah, I can handle it for you." And it was the pest control company calling me. So Walgreens has an assigned pest control company that handles all the Walgreens.
So they have a subcontractor on call.
Yes. Yeah, but
They don't want to do it.
the pest control company
Yeah,
didn't
he's
want
like,
to do it.
I don't want to be on camera killing bees.
Killing these bees, And so
Dirty motherfucker.
Sierra and I go out there, right? And we're like, "Yeah, we'll remove these bees." So we set up some scaffolding and all these cameras are zooming in on us and they're just waiting for these bees to
Attack.
attack the shit out of us, And now here's a girl in shorts and a t-shirt cutting down comb and removing these bees, and they're like, wah, wah,
was so
wah,
boring for
wah.
Is it about 6 to 7 years ago?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Were you there?
So it may have been me, or it may have
It may have been.
because the only reason why I said so many stories, but I vaguely remember being in Wellington near a Walgreens, and I think we may have switched shifts. So I think I was there in the morning, and then we switched shifts with the crew that comes in.
Yeah.
But
Because it was
all
late in the day.
morning- God, what reporter was
He
that
was there?
then?
It was at least 7 years ago.
Yeah, she's saying you were there.
6 to 7 years ago. I remember this because
Rob,
You were
Rob,
there?
She's saying you were there.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So killer bees.
So
And
I was
Sierra's
the
up
camera
there.
guy probably in the morning with our reporter pointing. I think it was Christina Noche. I'm gonna look this up actually later. And she was pointing to this thing and and then we had left and the Dayside crew came on. They're probably the ones that talk to you and go,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna look that up while you guys.
Yeah,
are
but we did
talking.
it without
remember that?
veils or anything. It was like
and so
no
they
big
were
deal.
like, "Oh, really? We were waiting for you guys to get stung. Can you get stung for us?" And we're like, "No, it doesn't work."
we were
that way,"
sharing
you
pieces
know?
of comb, I think.
Yeah.
You
We're
know,
like,
no
"Check
big
this
deal.
out. Here's the queen." You know.
So then you go and do that, and you know you.
It's education, you know.
Yeah.
You got to teach the public that if you respect them, you know, yes, they can sting and it can hurt. But if you're not carrying a can of Raid, typically they're not going to do anything to you. You know, they're not going to bother you.
They're not going to go after you, right?
They don't search out humans to swarm them and
They're
kill them.
not interested in us.
No.
They're interested in that queen.
And that's what I like is people say, these bees swarm to sting me. No, swarming is reproduction. When the queen is leaving the hive with the rest of the bees, it's a swarm of bees. They're reproducing, you know, and they're very docile. So you could get the meanest hive in the world, but when they swarm, you could be right in the middle of it, and they're not stinging you, you know, because their mindset is in a totally different set.
It sounds to me like we're the problem, not them.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know, it sounds like they want nothing to do with us. It's just we get in their way.
Yeah.
That is theirs. Really.
We just don't understand. Most people don't understand.
Well, I didn't understand until you
it's-
guys came in.
So it's the fear. You know,
Yeah.
it's the fear level of getting stung.
And the media and the social media and
Yeah.
all the bullshit. You know,
Yeah.
Again, like we were talking about before, somebody gets stung, they die. Well, they were allergic to it.
Yeah.
It's like My Girl.
Yeah.
We were talking about that earlier.
Yeah.
Everybody brings up that movie when we talk about bees.
But they put that stereotype out,
Yeah.
and then like me, before I talk to you guys, I run. I run like hell. I'm looking for a door.
And I'll get people, you know, frantic. You got to come out and remove these bees
Oh,
today.
no, you're looking for a door. I had a guy one time, he had mean bees. He asked me to come and move the hive. He was a beekeeper. He asked me to come and move the bees. And I get there, and the guy's fucking taping up his ankles and shit, like his pants around his socks. He's got tape out, and I'm like, wow, the bees are really this mean? He's like, oh, the bees are so mean. So we get all suited up. I'm like, okay, I was new. I was a pretty new beekeeper. I'm taping up my ankles also. He gets a bee inside of his veil, and he freaked out. He goes to tear his veil off, okay? And I'm like, why would you do that, right? There's like 20,000 bees outside your veil, and there's one bee inside. So he rips his veil off. He starts running across the yard. Don't say his name. You know exactly. He goes running across the yard. His wife is inside watching TV. She sees him coming.
She's probably like, go out there.
She
Stay out
runs
there.
to the front door and fucking locks it. It was so funny. It was like
She's probably like, sting him to death. Please get rid of him. I don't have to give him cyanide tonight.
She locked the door. She beat him. It was like both of them running towards the door at the same time, and she locked him out.
Yeah, we've seen it all.
I bet you
We've
have.
seen
That's
it all.
great.
Yeah.
Sarah, what was one time when you went and just everything went to hell? There has to be a time
When she
for
ripped
you.
her top off.
Oh man, I've seen boobs in the bee yard other than mine. I had someone who was a backyard beekeeper, and she had a helper that would help with the bees. And I arrived, and that helper had gotten the bees pretty riled up. And I told her, you might want to stay back. You know, the bees are really riled up. He was weed eating out here. The bees are a little crazy right now.
She was wearing
And
stretchy pants.
She was wearing like
Joggers or something?
Lululemon
Joggers,
leggings,
shit,
black
leggings, yeah.
and a little hoodie, and she had her hair up in a bun and she had glasses on.
To go mess with bees.
Well, because when I work the bees, it's different,
It's
right?
calm,
I'm
you know.
respectful, things are calm, but he
You
had
guys are
really
professional.
riled
Yeah.
the bees up. So I say, you might want to stay over there, you know, don't come closer. She starts doing this, right? She starts waving her hands around. I say, don't swat, don't swat, don't swat. So she turns. I said, walk back towards the house. So she turns around and she starts running and freaking out. She rips her like hair bun out because I think she was getting bees in her hair. And then all I see from behind are her hands crossed across the front of her body. And I'm like, no, right? Because the only time you ever do that is when you're taking your shirt off. She took her shirt off. She had no bra on underneath. She's running through, and her helper guy was just laughing. I was like, I don't think that's the first time he's ever seen her boobs.
Were you there for this?
But no, you know, your only piece of protection,
Oh man,
and you're
I
taking
was
it
like,
off, you know?
no, right? And
I feel like
a little bit of a high
How many
profile
times did she get
person.
hammered?
She got hammered a few times, and I felt pretty bad.
So you
for
got
her.
one guy who's a beekeeper who should know not
No,
to take.
that was the thing. He
was
was
a
a
helper.
that didn't know enough about the bees.
You should have
and-
read a little bit more, I guess,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
I
And
feel
then
like
the girl
they-
takes her
That was a
shirt
bad time
off. What
because
the
it
fuck?
was a high profile client. And
Yeah.
So
I feel like you need like
I won't say
No,
their
don't.
name.
I feel
No,
like
don't.
you need like Steve-O to come out and do like a Jackass episode.
I
at
have
the
to
farm.
see that. Yes.
Yeah, that'd
Oh
be
my
good.
gosh, could you imagine?
You know, and then one time
I don't think we'd have insurance.
His whole
anymore
dick was
after
full of bees.
that. I have to watch
Stung
it.
like
I would
hell.
do that. You know, I would do a bikini.
A mankini.
A mankini. Yeah, I'd do a mankini.
All right, he whipped his whole dick out. There was a lot of dick in that new
Yeah.
Jackass.
Right.
It was really good, but I had a fat. There was
Yeah,
too much
too
dick
much.
stuff.
Too
much.
Too much, man.
I'd probably like that.
You would, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. But one day, right, she tells me, Al, this guy called me and he wants to do a reality show on us. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
He's like, absolutely not.
I said, all those fucking reality shows, they want drama,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? And so they're going to try to, you know,
Kill your ass.
yeah, or get us mad at each other, or, you know, okay, for this scene, we want you to pretend like you're getting the shit stung out of you, even though you're not.
Yeah.
Just run and scream like a girl. You know, I'm like, I'm not doing that.
Wow, you know what they did to Chris from Animal Planet from Gator Boys?
No.
When he was in here, he was telling us all about this reality shit. And the reason why he left the show was because he's messing with alligators, crocodile, these nutty things.
yeah.
So say it's us three on the show. I'm Chris. You know, my script is, okay, I'm going to go in, get this alligator out. I know how to handle it. Well, behind his back, the producers are going to you and saying, hey, throw in there some type of fish that will make the alligator go crazy. Now, Chris doesn't know this.
Shit.
Then they go to you and they say, hey, you go back in the woods so that when Chris calls for your help, he can't get a hold of you to make the drama.
Yeah.
And this was constantly happening. And he's a professional. I mean, this guy knows more about this shit than, he blew my mind, right, Rob?
Yeah.
I mean, this guy knew everything about every animal that he messes with, from birds, sharks.
No.
Yeah, like,
He caught a black mamba.
oh, yeah, he caught a
Caught.
black
Oh,
mamba,
my God.
Has
held
a
it in his
picture
hand.
of a black mamba in his hand.
and opened it.
Right.
Correct.
Open is a black mama. That's how good he is.
Caught a black mamba.
But that reality shit, like you said,
Yeah.
they'll set you the fuck up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
You know-
told her, I said, no way.
Yeah, they'll go to set and they'll put you in a bad position to put him in a bad position.
Yeah.
And if you don't do it, they'll throw you off the show.
Be like he's
the next show.
he's killing bees. Look what he's doing.
Yeah.
He killed them actually.
No, I don't run.
Turn
Yeah.
that one down.
Put
Yeah.
his foot down on that
Yeah.
one.
I was like, I'm not going to be the turtle guy. Go collect some bees.
Yeah, I mean, it would be fine if they were just, actually taping what you do.
Right.
But if they're writing a script and then throwing, angles at you to get you hurt,
Yep.
Yeah.
and you're playing with bees,
Yeah.
they, if not handled properly, it can hurt you.
Yeah.
Is there a danger to? I guess you hear about invasive species, pythons and how they're overtaking the Everglades and all that type of stuff. Is there a such thing as an invasive bee species that you actually don't want here, or no, that you know of?
So there's a whole thing.
Giant wasp.
Oh well, yeah, we have that giant murder hornet. Remember during COVID?
Yeah.
Oh,
People were
yeah.
like, oh, the murder hornets are coming. We don't have those in Florida, but there is a whole thing about honeybees and the hardcore native people, right? Because honeybees are not native to the U.S. So sometimes honeybees can outcompete other native species of bees. So we focus on, the honeybees are having a hard time, they're dying. But really it's the native bees that are having a harder time because we're managing European honeybees. But we do still need them regardless of the out competition of native species. If we don't have huge colonies of bees that we can move around the country, we don't have food. So it really does go back to that. But there is a little bit of an argument going on about honeybees and the out competition of native species.
They're not native.
So if, and I know the answer, but I think I know the answer. If bees, let's just say, die off.
Yeah,
Just
we're
say-
fucked.
they're dead, what happens?
Well, we'd have to go back to a different style of farming, you know. We'd have
So they do that in China in some parts. They have to hand pollinate. Have you ever seen like the documentaries of the people buying the little packets of pollen, and then you have people climbing in the trees with a little paintbrush or a Q-tip, and they're pollinating? Yeah, they
wanna see
do
it
have
now.
to.
Yeah.
They have to hand pollinate quite a few crops
Isn't
in
it
China.
pear tree?
It's something like that.
These trees are sacred trees, right? And they ended up using a systemic pesticide on these trees, which stayed in the tree, right? And so it killed off the pollinators when they came to the flowers. And so now there's no pollinators to pollinate the trees. And because these trees are sacred, they actually hand pollinate. So the entire community will come out and hand pollinate because they're, you know, the bees will die if they go to pollinate these trees.
Jeez. Now with those wasps, when that whole thing was going on, is that a pack thing too? Whereas one isn't gonna kill you, they're coming at you in packs.
No, they're going towards the honeybee.
No, I don't think it was murder towards people. See, he's worried about one bee,
No,
one
but-
fucking hornet's gonna kill him.
Yeah, because I had seen on the news with the wasp, and it killed 2 or 3 kids or something that were at a pool. So I just wondered if
But probably, again, they're allergic to it.
maybe
Yeah,
well,
it's an
half the
allergy.
time they don't mention that part
Yeah.
until the end. You know, we have to go to a hard break.
Yeah. No, this wasp, this
serious.
particular giant wasp, will go into a honeybee hive, and it'll kill the hive. And so, you know, we don't want that to happen. So we don't want this wasp. And they actually found the wasp, I think it was Washington?
Washington
State of
State,
Washington.
yeah.
What's the biggest hive that you've ever seen or that you know of, like biggest?
Well, that
ever?
one, but remember there was that one in Lake Worth that went. He got called out to this house, and the guy said it was an old man.
That was
and,
Riviera Beach.
Okay, Riviera Beach, and the old man
Made it
said
out.
the
Good for
hive's
you.
been here for 20 years. He said, and I was like, what the hell? And he's like, I have to have it removed because my granddaughter's moving in with me, and she's allergic to bees.
He wanted
That's
to
the
keep
only
it?
reason.
Really?
Yeah. This hive was a 2-story house. It went up the wall, across the ceiling, and up the second story on the other side of the
Holy
house.
Shit. Was that guy selling
It was
honey or what?
Huge.
It was huge. It just was never ending, this thing.
Yeah, one hive.
One
And-
all
and-
across the house.
and is
through the walls, ceiling between the first and second floor, and up the other side of the
And
house.
is it true? Like I've seen, and I don't know how you do it, but maybe I'm wrong when I seen a video where they take like almost like a vacuum cleaner and they're like sucking the bees. Is that how you do it?
Yeah.
Basically,
Yeah,
And
so
you're-
removal. So I have a shop vac connected to a special box, and then another hose coming out of that box. But I have a regulator on there so I can control the pressure that's coming into the box. So I can cut down a piece of comb because there's sheets of comb that make up the entire hive. So I'll cut the first piece of comb off, and I'll vacuum the bees off of both sides of the comb. And they get drawn into this box, but they don't get drawn back into the vacuum. So think of a pool, a skimmer on a pool. Mm-hmm. You know, it collects all the garbage before it goes into the pump. So this collects the bees into this box before it gets into the vacuum. So I vacuum all the bees, and they end up in this box, and then I can transport them home. And then I'll find the queen, cage her up, put her in the box that I want them to live in, and then all the bees go in there because the queen's in there.
All you need is that damn queen, huh?
Yeah.
And because she's in a cage, she can't go anywhere. And so then they start forming the nest right around her, and they can actually chew her out of the cage in about 3 days. But by then, they've already started developing the hive. They're committed to it, so they end up staying. We have a very good success rate of transplanting bees from unwanted locations to wanted locations.
Congratulations,
And
because
so-
as we've read, they're needed. Every
Yeah.
single one of them.
And you don't need to kill them. Why kill them? It's going to cost you the same amount of money to get them sprayed and killed as it is to have a beekeeper
just
come
have
out.
them removed and
have
keep
'em
them
removed.
alive
I think
and
it's
let
like
them do a
I think
thing.
it's just that scare, like with anything, like a snake. People think the first thing I got to kill the snake. I hate snakes.
Yeah.
Scary. Kill the snake.
Yeah.
Well, they're not educated, Rob.
Yeah.
They go like this. Oh, gee,
Bees,
this is the answer.
Bees,
Okay. Or the
sharks,
TV bullshit.
sharks,
Yeah.
the same thing. It's
I had a
the
guy.
same.
I had a guy call me up and said, "Hey, I got a beehive," and I went out and looked at it. Right, and I was like, "Yeah, this thing's huge. You know, I'll put you on the schedule for tomorrow." And he's like, "No, you got to remove that thing tonight." I was like, "It's 5 o'clock at night. You know, this thing is up in the attic, and I'm going to be up there for hours." He's like, "I don't care what it costs me. you got to get that thing out tonight.
I
I said, dude, this thing's been here for 8 months. What's the rush now? He's like, because my wife now knows it's there.
Oh,
And she's
he'll pay anything just to shut
Yeah.
her up.
well, she's going to the Ritz-Carlton, and she's not coming back until that thing is gone. So you cannot charge me enough compared to what she's going to spend at the
I
Ritz-Carlton.
was like, okay, let's see it.
And so he's like, if you remove it now, she's not leaving. So I don't care what it costs me. Remove it now. So I was there until like 10 o'clock at night, removing these bees
and
out of
she's
his
probably
attic.
so pissed because she probably wanted to go to the Ritz, get the hell away
right.
from him for a week and burn all his money up for all the shit he pissed her off with, right?
Yeah.
Funny.
How did they make that comb? I always wondered how they
it's
make
pretty
that.
cool, right?
I mean, as a team, obviously, but
Well,
how do they make it?
each individual bee can make it. So they have that colony, right? And that hive is made out of wax. But in order to make that, they have to consume excess amounts of sugar. So that bee has to go out to the flowers. She has to gather the nectar. She comes back to the hive. The first thing she does is she tries to pass it to one of her sister bees, right? If all the sister bees are hungry, it stays in her honey stomach. Then she goes to a place in the honeycomb and she wants to put it in the honeycomb to store it, right? Because everybody's full. If all the honeycomb is also full, and there's nowhere for her to feed it to somebody or put it somewhere, it sits in her honey stomach and it automatically turns on wax making. And she starts secreting wax from the plates of her abdomen. And then she scrapes it off with her feet and she puts it in her mouth. She chews it up. And then the bees all hang together in a behavior we call festooning. They all chain hook onto one another and they create these chains and they can build the honeycomb by like scaffolding, basically honeybee scaffolding or festooning, and making wax.
So like the outside of the comb that like we had seen in one of the pictures hanging from the tree, like that big ass one. The outside that looks to me like I don't know. I don't even know what I would say it looks like, but
Well, that was covered with bees.
that one was covered with
Yeah.
bees. But
Yeah. So this one over here, the bees have abandoned the comb. They're off to the top and bottom. And you're actually looking at the honeycomb. You're looking at the bottom of the honeycomb. Normally, there would be bees in between each row and on top.
And it's perfect bee space. Do you see how each one is uniformly spaced?
yeah, I do.
The space between each one of those sheets of comb is the space where two bees can walk and not, bump into each other too much, right? So a bee can be on this comb and a bee can be on this comb, and there's room for both of them to coexist next to each other without getting squished.
Okay, I said
So-
wrong. So when I walk by a tree and I see a comb hanging there, that outside part of it, what is that? Is that
It's
wax?
wax.
That's
Yeah.
wax?
Yeah.
She made it
Wow.
between the plates of her abdomen.
And then it hardens like that?
Well, do you see?
I mean, it's soft. It's pretty soft. Like you could chew
So
it,
if I
right?
would go up there and touch it, it's not hard.
oh,
The older it gets, the harder it gets. So very, very fresh white
Interesting.
virgin wax is very, very soft. It'll fall apart in your hands.
yeah. You see in
So
that
the-
that
The darker the thing that you see in the tree, the older it is, right?
The older
Okay.
it is, and it's because it has baby bees in it. That baby bee, when it goes to pupate and transform to become an adult bee, it spins a cocoon, and those cocoons darken the comb over time.
because it's silk.
I see.
So, but you see the picture on the right there. In the center, it's a darker brown, and as you move out towards the edges, it gets lighter yellow, and then it turns white.
And that's where the babies are, right?
No, so the
that's
white,
the
Protecting it.
newest comb.
the white is all pure wax.
brand new virgin
And
comb.
that would be like protection.
No,
It's like an
they just
insulator.
made it. So they
Okay.
just made that. That's the freshest wax that was made. And as you move towards the center, there's probably no beeswax left in the comb because they've spun so many cocoons that it's built up that silk layer. And in order to keep the whole the same size, they actually have to start removing the wax.
Like where your finger's pointing out in that picture, what stage would you say they're at right there?
That's the oldest piece of comb.
That's like 3 months old.
That's 3 months. Okay, just out of curiosity.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
because
the,
it'll
but
get
the
almost
white
black
part, the
over
white
time.
parts are days old.
brand new.
Brand new.
And you think that's all just based on instinct? Wow, that's shit, huh?
It's ingrained.
Ingrained, evolved over time.
But back to that job thing, right? So every bee does every job in the hive. There isn't one that goes out and collects food, one that makes beeswax, the one that does this. They all do every job, and they're a week apart. So each job is by the week. So the first week that a bee hatches out of the cocoon, okay, it's a cleaner bee. Its job is to clean. And then it goes to feeding. So on week 2, it starts feeding larvae and other bees. And on week 3, it actually produces beeswax. So, and then it moves to week 4, it becomes a guard bee. And then week 5 to 8, they're actually guard bees and then foraging bees out in the world. And they don't die from old age, right? They actually die because they fly so much that they wear away their wings to the point where they can't fly anymore. And then they walk away from the hive so they're not a burden to the hive and they die. And so people always say, well, if bees only live for, 6 to 8 weeks, how do they survive all winter? Well, when they're inside the hive and they're not flying, they live longer.
They still have their wings.
Because they didn't lose their wings. And so when those bees aren't flying, they're living longer. It's only because they can't fly anymore, they don't want to be a burden, and they actually walk away from the hive and die.
What's both of your opinions on this whole green thing? Green, like hotter, colder, who's the one who's ahead of that, making all that money with this green bullshit?
The Green New Deal.
The Green Deal.
Is it Bill Gates who's behind that? No, the Microsoft.
People's, but Gates, I guess.
Is it Gates the one? And Dole too, right?
Bob Dole?
Who was Bush's guy? Who was Bush's vice president?
Dan Quayle?
No.
Oh, Al Gore.
Al Gore.
Oh,
I think
Clinton.
he's heavy into
Clinton.
that, too.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah.
The inconvenient truth.
So look,
It's been going on forever, in my opinion.
we have to be conscious of the environment, right? We have to be. We have to
we have one planet.
we have
Come
to
on, we're not
understand what
moving
bees
to Mars. It's not happening. We can't get one person to Mars.
do,
Okay.
But there's cycles too, Look at the droughts in California and out west right now, right? And they're saying, look, dinosaur footprints. We never saw those dinosaur footprints before. So at one time, there was no water there for the dinosaur to walk around. And then there was another program that said, hey, look, these are water markings. Ancient people marked the water levels, down this low.
In other words, this might have happened before.
Right, cycles.
Right, cycles.
Cycles.
Not that we're not adding to it,
Yeah,
but
well, the
it's the
problem
cycle.
is the number of people that we have and the rate we're doing it is not
A good
a
cycle.
good cycle. That's not a
Yeah.
How long is
accurate,
this
yeah.
next cycle going to last?
Yes. No, I agree that we're adding to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But overall, if you just look at history, this has happened 100 million gazillion times. It's a cycle that always
We
happens.
don't know. We don't know if the long-term effect is going to be good or bad.
Right.
But there are definitely changes. I mean,
Yeah.
I think there's definitely changes.
And
I
things
think we should be
happen, right?
mindful. But a lot of the things we do to try and fix it actually make things worse.
Well, I think too.
or they're also not sustainable
Well, yeah.
options.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, like they want to go to battery, right? But when you throw away the battery, that's worse than the fossil fuels. Where are you going to put the battery
and
at?
making the battery can be worse.
You have to
Well,
take.
And not having enough
So look at-
power in the power grid to
Yeah.
charge all the cars.
Let's look at
Right?
when
I
the
mean,
Earth was first being
there
formed.
has to be a better solution. I think it's definitely happening. I just think it's
So
not an easy answer.
let's look at when the Earth was being formed, right? So there was very little oxygen, and there was a lot of carbon dioxide, and the planet was hot, right? But then what happened was we started getting all this algae growing in the water that consumed the carbon dioxide. It fed on that carbon dioxide, right? And then it produced oxygen.
Yep.
So it began this cycle where, plant life flourished, right? Because of all the carbon dioxide.
But these things happen over like millions of years.
Millions
it's not
of
like,
years, right? And so what's going to happen when we put all this carbon dioxide in the air? What's the counter effect? Do we get more algae, which feeds on the carbon dioxide, which then produces more oxygen, which puts us back into a good cycle?
No,
so
we are not smart enough to solve the problem.
yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Well,
I think that's like the root of it.
Yeah,
We
humans are
not
learning.
smart enough to solve
And we just
the
keep-
problems we make.
Don't worry, robots are
We
coming.
make
We'll
the
figure it
same mistake
Well, and
all
we,
the
and, we,
time.
and we just keep cutting down trees and cutting down trees
Yeah.
and putting like blacktop and pave.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, you're cutting down all the trees and putting more blacktop. I think it's gonna get a little hotter,
Yeah, a
just
lot
a little
hotter.
bit.
Yeah.
Just
Lot hotter.
black attracts heat, right? Is that what they say when you're wearing a black shirt, you're outside and weighing more
I,
blacktop down.
I have an open mind to everything, but I think what we're doing is minor to what's happening with like the, Alaska getting hotter and the ice and all that other stuff. I think it's always happened. We're just adding a
Adding
tiny
more.
bit to it.
Nature seems to balance, doesn't it?
Right. It always does.
You
but,
throw it out of whack over here, and something's.
but what you said in the beginning is more so the problem, I think, than this whole green thing. I think the green thing might be a cover up for them because of all the building and cutting everything down.
Can we talk about aliens instead?
Yeah.
You don't want to get. We'll be here all night.
We'll add another 2 hours onto this podcast.
There's three things I know in this world. I don't know how to swing a hammer. I don't even know how to start a lawnmower. One of those guys, right? But I'm a coder. I know medical and I know space.
So
Those three things I know. The rest,
I'm gonna-
I guess, podcast.
I'm going to throw you into the weird world. All right.
Okay. Sure.
So, and it goes back to that superorganism that I was talking about, right? So, you saw the stingers on the honeybees, on the female honeybees. Males don't have a stinger, right? So they did research and tried to figure out why females had stingers and males didn't, right? And so before honeybees became a superorganism, they theorized that honeybees were solitary bees.
Well, because there are a lot of solitary bees.
And so solitary bees are meaning they live, in small groups or individually, right? And they figured out that the stinger was actually an ovipositor,
It's a modified
Okay.
ovipositor.
which means that the honeybee could actually put the stinger into like a plant and lay an egg through that stinger and deposit the egg inside a plant, and then the larva would grow and hatch out as a bee, right? And over time, when honeybees started working together in groups, right, and became this superorganism, they no longer needed that stinger as an ovipositor. And so the queen became the one that laid eggs in the comb, but this ovipositor became a weapon. They could use it to defend, right? And so it transformed because they didn't lose it. So now it evolved from a solitary bee into a group or a superorganism. So I've theorized that humans are on the same path, that we were basically independent livers. We would live in small groups or alone, and then we started coming together as groups, and we're following that same path, and we've actually become a superorganism, where each one of us are no longer an organism. We're only a cell to the bigger organism, right? Because in a superorganism, everything happens as one. So they breathe as one, they heat up as one, they feed as one, everything is one. So if you look at humans, with the internet now connecting our communication, so we're all interconnected.
Mind fucking us, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And then
Yes.
in order to heat, we're dependent upon this outside source to keep us all warm. Our food now is all dependent upon one, right? So everything is pointing to, we're going to get to the point where we can't survive on our own, that we need.
Well, have you ever seen Naked and Afraid?
that we are becoming a superorganism.
It's really hard to survive on your own.
Yeah, and this superorganism is going to, evolve into this alien creature,
I'm with you on that. I just think robots are going to beat us to the punch.
right?
That's the only problem. But I think you're
AI?
100% right.
AI?
That's
AI,
scary.
robots. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, you see some of the robots now. I mean, the ones they're showing us are enough to let you know that they already probably have them fully conscious and everything. And all that data on your phone is going right to China as they build it.
Right. Here we go.
That
Let
is
the party
scary.
begin.
I think we're 10 years away, 20 years maybe.
Right.
Lex Friedman has 50 of them in his fucking house. I mean, and these things are, they could open that jar, pick up the spoon, and start eating this, have a cup of coffee and everything.
Hell, they had it in Rocky 4. Remember the robot that
Yeah.
would bring that thing over? That's Rocky 4.
That might have been
Yes.
animated, but
Hey,
the ones
no,
this
that's
guy
real.
Lex has, they're real. They're the
But
real
you know what
deal.
the flaw is going to be?
It's
That robot, when I hire it to be my beekeeper,
gonna kill you.
no. It's going to run away like a scared girl,
I
yelling
don't
and
think so.
screaming because we program it to be, freak out about the bees!
I don't think so.
That might be true.
I don't think so because they're gonna use them for the military first, so they're gonna make them mean.
So they don't care about dying.
No, they don't care about dying. It's a chip.
Right.
So the more data that you put in it, the more that they understand. They're faster.
Nope.
First, you use them as military. That way, our people don't die. If they get blown up, it's just a robot.
That's scary.
Then eventually, as time goes on, they're more. They make more and more and more. They get smarter and smarter and smarter. And then what happens?
Right.
Now you already have a robot that's trained to be mean. Eventually, at some point, it will realize that it is a robot, and we're just human peasants. And then what?
Right.
Terminator.
Terminator.
That's what I think.
Terminator.
That's my thing. It ends.
fucking
It ends the
crazy.
Terminator.
But we're only going to see the tail end of it, because of
Yeah,
our age.
our generation will
Yeah,
see the
yeah.
tail end of it.
Yeah.
But under us,
So it'd be like watching a movie. It'd be like, hey,
Yeah.
look at that shit.
Yeah.
We were right.
No.
unless Elon gets that damn Neuralink right, where you
Right.
get the chip in the brain, and then then you could.
Super organism.
Yeah,
Superorganism.
that's right.
right?
Yeah.
Right back to the super
Yeah.
organism.
If he gets that done,
Dependent on
and they will have to allow it to happen. But if he gets that done, then I think we'll be all right because then we'll be able to hang with them. It's just a matter: are you willing to go in and get a chip put in the back of your head? But I guess if it's
That's mind blowing.
But if it's you or the robot, what are you going to do?
Right.
Either live with them. If you can't beat them,
Hope I'm dead before that
Gotta
happens.
join 'em.
right?
you got to join them.
I'd rather
You know?
be dead.
Yeah.
And I mean, the footprint's pretty much on the wall.
I'm glad you like the coffee.
I love the coffee. It's great. It is. It really is great.
Did you like that transition back to
That
the
was
coffee?
great. Yeah.
B10.
Hey, you
coffee.
brought it up. You put me
BEE,
down that road.
Yeah, we're
BEE, the number 10 coffee.com.
So now you tell me.
No Terminators on
No
the website.
Terminators on that one.
Maybe some AI, but no.
So give me a time when you went and it was just a mess that turned into more of a mess. There has to be a time that just was just a nightmare. Almost a nightmare.
no.
No.
A hard one. The hardest job that you did.
Most difficult, I guess, to get at maybe.
Yeah, I mean,
Any-
I can show you a picture, but,
But it wasn't hard to get at.
well, yeah, because it was about 45 feet in the air, right? So,
Is this that one where you're in the middle
Yeah.
of the fucking condos?
yeah, so there was a condo, right? And there were 4 buildings all touching each other, but there was a courtyard in the center, right? And they had some palm trees and gardens in the center in this courtyard. And one of the palm
He's not smart. guys.
one of the palm
Sometimes
trees
He is not.
He's alive.
yeah, one of
He's
the
barely.
one of the palm trees
He's barely left.
was about 50 to 60 feet tall, right? Going up above the condos. But this thing was only, the trunk on it was only maybe 10 inches in diameter. Okay,
10
so
inches.
it was a very thin trunk going up to this palm. And in the fronds was a beehive. And they're like, hey, can you get that? And I'm like, well, you can't get a lift in here, And you know how each layer of the condo has a walk balcony on it? Well, that balcony stuck out about 2 feet beyond the railing, right? And so I was like, all right, well, I'll get my ladder in here. And the ladder, the 30-foot ladder, was too short to get to the beehive.
No, this is ridiculous. You guys can't even
So-
imagine how fucking ridiculous.
So then the first layer was 10 feet, right? So I took one ladder and leaned it up against the balcony 10 feet up. And I took the 30-foot ladder and put it on the edge of the balcony and leaned it over
Into the courtyard.
into the tree. So one ladder went up like
Oh
this,
my
one
God.
ladder went up like this. And as I was climbing up the ladder towards the tree, right?
Because you can't fucking hook it to the tree until you climb it.
Right? And so I'm climbing up this ladder.
I'm with you, bro.
I'm climbing up the
Bro,
ladder.
before women.
But the leverage,
Just kidding.
the leverage with my weight on the ladder
Bending it.
was pushing the tree away from me, which then the ladder started sliding down the tree.
How'd that feel?
And so I had to quickly go out and strap the ladder to the tree as it was bending down. And then I had to run a line back to the railing to hold the tree up so it wouldn't bend down. And so I was 40 feet in the air.
I was not there.
I was just gonna ask you, were you there?
No, but he showed me pictures when he got home that night.
I was 40 feet in the air, and I just cut the entire hive off and just brought the whole thing down as one hive. And the guy down below was like, "You're nuts." And
No, it was so bad, you guys.
it was pretty insane.
I mean, he puts his ladder like on top of his van, and he'll do removals from a ladder on top of the van. Like, that's one thing. This is a whole new level.
it was a whole new level of crazy.
Really glad you lived
But you know,
day to day.
it goes right back to that
Did you know what he was doing when he left?
the challenge.
No.
You know,
Oh my goodness.
the challenge, right?
Yeah, you have some balls, buddy.
You see
See
the
if I can send this over here.
yeah.
Oh, it's so bad, you guys. It's terrifying.
Keep talking.
But it becomes the challenge. You know, it's like, can you get that
It
down?
becomes a challenge.
You know, can you get that?
How close can I get to
Well,
death today?
You know,
Not from the bees.
I could probably get that down. You know, if I do this or that, you know, I could probably get that down. And so it literally took me all day, you know, to figure it out, to get the balls to climb up the ladder, you know, because I was scared. I was scared shitless. You know,
Was that the
but now
first
I had
time you were really worried?
But now I had a bunch of people down below. You know,
Figured maybe they'll catch you?
no,
Yeah.
they're just like we want to see this guy fall. you
Yeah,
know?
they're just watching.
Yeah.
They're
Recording on their cell phone.
yeah.
Oh, yes.
the bookie just came to take the bets.
They're like this.
Yeah.
You know, I hope I'm getting this for when he falls.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
You know.
bookies are giving odds the
Yeah.
whole nine, right?
Yeah, I'm live. You know, I'm live.
No, he does crazy stuff all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. That one was a little bit beyond crazy, though.
When's
know,
the
and
wedding?
Whose wedding?
You guys' wedding.
We've
It's
been
a nice day for a white wedding.
We've both been married and divorced.
Phil?
Yeah.
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 I'm
Are
a handful. He used to talk about getting married a lot when we first got together, but I'm a little bit of a handful.
Are you a notary?
No, but there's notary in
Are
it.
you a captain of a ship?
I could be. I know a captain of a ship.
I have a feeling the wedding would involve
I can
bees.
get the two together for you real quick.
Yeah. See how that goes.
We'll talk just between me and you later.
Yeah, right. Let's see how the coffee show goes. You know? I'll let you know.
We can't afford to get married.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see how the coffee goes.
Yeah.
It will go good. You guys can get married right here on live.
She's like, do you have a life insurance policy?
Ah, fuck. Yeah, when you get asked that, you know, oh boy. Right? Rob, pull up their website. Let's go through everything again so everybody knows. You guys got some wonderful things going on. It's really
we
great.
have a lot of fun, that's for sure.
That's all that matters.
We
you
do
know?
what we love every single day.
Right. And if you do what you love, it's not work, right?
Work.
Yeah.
As long as it's that heat and humidity.
Oh,
That's the killer, right?
Oh man.
It's hot as hell out.
Yeah.
So you guys got all this stuff.
Yeah. It's good stuff. The honey is really good. I mean, the flavor of the honey is incredible.
You got limited edition Boca honey.
Yeah. We know exactly where the honey comes from. You know, it's farm to table. I mean, literally farm to table. The facility is right on the farm. The bees are right on the farm.
Beautiful. I love that it's natural.
We call it the honey house.
That's cool.
The honey
Like
house.
stocking stuffers
People think
for
it's
the
a brothel.
holidays.
Yeah. Stocking stuffers, birthday.
You know, nowadays everything is processed. and-
Everything
and,
is.
You know, this is made right here in Florida.
Look at this. Okay. If you're listening to this, it's creamedhoney.com. They even explain.
And I
how
guarantee
you
it's
can
not a
use
porn
each
site.
type-
On a porn site.
I'll put the porno little thing in the description for everybody if they want to see it. But they explain what you could do with each of their products and everything if you're listening to it. And that's creamedhoney.com, and it will be in the description.
Or you
And
can find it on
b10coffee.com.
Yep, we're going to go right there now. And the B10 coffee I just had, and this is my new coffee for sure.
Hey, I'm going to have a T-shirt made
Yep.
that says, I like my honey creamed.
And that's b10coffee.com.
That's right.
Yep. And go through the different types of coffee again, Rob, at the top.
So right now we have cacao, which is your mocha, your regular coffee, and Cubano to make your Cuban coffee. And soon to come is indulgence.
On the way.
That's
And then decaf after that. You got to get to the decaf so you have the
Yeah.
full package.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the super caffeinated.
Yeah, the super caffeinated.
The super
Yeah, I'm
caffeinated.
waiting for that one. I'm waiting
And
for
you-
the super caffeinated.
And you could find the honey on Amazon, but not the coffee yet.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So the coffee's only available on your b10coffee.com, but it's soon to be. All the pages are being made. We have to get product to Amazon. They have to redistribute it across the United States.
So it's a process.
It's a process. It
And how many cups of coffee would you say one of these jars makes?
depends how strong you want it.
Let's say if you do just one.
So typically it's going to make around 10 to 12 cups of coffee. But if you like it strong, you might only get 8 out of it. But you have to remember that you can add more paste to make the coffee stronger, but it's also going to get a little bit sweeter because you're adding more honey. So it's that perfect balance. You want to find where it's that sweet spot.
Well, if you look up there, it's $19.99, right? So if you go buy 20 K-cups, you're going to spend $30, $40.
It's $1.
Dunkin'.
It's $1.25 a cup.
You can't beat that. And it's natural.
And
Yes.
how are you, like, I guess my question is, what do you just take hot water and then just mix it in? Like, how do you make it? You can't put it in your coffee maker, right?
No.
No.
So you're taking one big tablespoon, a heaping tablespoon, put it in your mug, and add hot water to it.
Got you.
And just
Mix
stir
it
it.
around. Yeah, mix it around.
Or you can take, a cup of half and half or milk, microwave it so it's hot, and then add a tablespoon of the coffee in there and let it dissolve, and it's like a cappuccino, right? But now I can blow your mind.
Okay, hold on. Let me get that right so everybody knows. So if you're going to do it in the microwave, like if you don't have a hot water machine or anything like that, you would warm up the water first,
Water or milk first,
and then put
then add your paste,
add your paste
and
in.
it'll
You just
dissolve.
stir it in.
You don't put the paste in with the water in the
No.
microwave. Okay,
It's
because that's what
like-
I would have done like a
Yeah.
moron.
Yeah, no.
No,
you don't.
I mean, think about if you were sweetening your tea with honey. You would make your cup of tea and then you'd stir in your honey.
Well, that's the problem. I wouldn't have thought like
Exactly.
that. I would have just put the damn thing in the microwave
Like,
and
what
ruined
the
it.
hell?
I
Yeah.
mean, you could microwave it also. It's going to heat up with your water. I don't
But the
think
best
we're
way
doing
to
it.
do it would be to
Yeah.
get the water hot, scoop it in, boom.
Did
and
you
it,
ever-
and it is excellent.
Did you ever hear of Delgana coffee?
I have heard of Dalgona coffee, yeah.
So it's foam. It's a concentrated coffee foam on top of almond milk or oat milk, and it's typically you drink it cold, right? So this will make that foam. So if you take a tablespoon and put it in a mug with only 2 ounces of hot water and let it dissolve, and then take a cream frother, the battery-powered frother, and put it in the coffee, you can froth the coffee,
Wow, this shit can do everything.
and it foams up. And then you start frothing the foam, and it gets to the consistency of whipped cream.
Wow.
But it's straight coffee, so it's concentrated coffee foam, and then you put it on top of your, your almond milk or oat milk,
Or ice.
We got to get this out. We might be able to
ice
get
cream.
people back to work.
you know?
When I go to get a fucking tire changed, I don't have enough people to work. Give me a month. I need an oil change. Nobody's working. Give me a month.
Yeah.
Get the fucking coffee, people. Get to work.
Yeah, right?
Right? You need to come out with that intensive one.
Yeah.
Get them buzzing.
Now, let me ask you guys this. So with the coffee, a lot of people like iced coffee, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a way to make this into iced coffee?
You
It
just
makes
use
it-
a small amount of water to dissolve the paste, and then add your more water or milk or ice to it.
Unbelievable. Great
Super easy.
job, guys, on making this stuff.
Yeah.
It's easy. It's idiot. My 13-year-old, I don't let him drink a lot of coffee, but he loves the coffee.
Yeah, I was just asking so that when people see this, they know that they can make iced coffee, hot coffee,
Perfect iced coffee.
foam coffee, whipped cream coffee, right? I mean, it's just.
But you can
excellent.
take, so you take a tablespoon, right? And you put it in a jar that has a lid. And you just add tap water, warm tap water to it. And you shake it up. And you shake it to dissolve it, right? So you get it all dissolved. And then you pour it over ice. And then add vodka to it. And
Makes a really good martini.
makes a great.
Oh, so much for our craft beer.
Or
Oh, this is the new craft. beer.
amaretto, add amaretto to it. Or
Yeah.
your Jameson, add and make an Irish coffee.
I bet that would be good with bourbon.
Yeah.
Ooh,
You ever
yeah.
try it
We
with bourbon?
haven't tried it with bourbon. No.
Are you a bourbon drinker?
I don't drink much hard shit, but when I do, I like bourbon.
I don't
Right.
drink
It's-
much
it
hard
feels
shit,
smooth.
but when I do.
Hard things, hard stuff. Nah, it's too much for me.
That sounds like
Well, the vanilla cream.
You won't
honey
see
is
me for a
supposed to be
week.
Good with that, right? The vanilla.
Yeah. So when you tried the vanilla, think bourbon.
Yeah,
You know, with the vanilla.
I mean, it's excellent. It's real. I can't say enough about it. I mean,
So
Yeah,
my mind's blown away that you can make coffee out of this. And,
Yeah.
and one last thing, we had all kinds of people in, but one thing was about the soil, and this I saw on another show. But they were saying it was this really interesting looking guy, but he knew what he was talking about.
terroir.
Tons of respect. That might have been his name. And he was saying that I don't know.
Yeah.
If whatever his name is, I can't say it anyway.
Right.
But he was saying that the soil is getting so bad in the ground, and if there's one link broken in that soil, once that link is broken, it's done for. And if that's broken, then the plants don't grow, and then the bees don't have anything to pollinate.
It's the microbiome.
The microbiome.
Microbes
that's what I
are
was trying to say.
so important.
And if that one link stops, we destroy it enough, there's a real problem.
Yeah.
And he had come on, this is the type of guy like these vaccinologists and stuff that you would never see on a podcast. But because, he's a soil guy with plants and everything else and what you guys do all the way up to this, he understands it and sees how bad it is. So he got out of his little bunker that he's in studying this shit all the time and went, public to say, look, if you guys keep doing this and you break that link that's real thin right now,
Yep.
you don't have to worry about war, robots, AI. You don't have to worry about any of that.
But think of.
But it goes to the bees also.
Would you agree with that? Right. And I'm
Yeah.
saying that
100%.
because the bees are pollinating plants.
Well,
Yeah.
no, but remember we talked about pollen and how it's not very digestible? The
Right.
bees use microbes in the hive. They put that pollen inside of the open cells of the honeycomb and they add nectar and microbes to it and they ferment it to break down that pollen shell without microbes. So if you treat the bees with antibiotics, which some beekeepers do, you damage the microbiome in the hive and the bees are not as efficient at protecting against all sorts of things, right? So the microbiome is important in the soil. It's important in our guts.
Yeah,
It's
think about-
important in the beehive.
Think about when you take antibiotics.
Yeah.
It kills the bacteria in your stomach, the good bacteria,
Right.
and you end up getting the shits.
Yeah.
Well, if you put that into a beehive, it's killing the.
Why in the hell would they put that in a beehive? You
Well,
got to be
because
a moron.
bees get bacterial infections
Yeah,
also.
they get sick.
So do you have to do it?
No, we've never.
Yeah.
We don't use antibiotics.
It does. I mean, just from what I study. I mean, I'm not a biologist, but I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy.
No, but there are bacterial diseases, and in a commercial setting where you have bees crowded all together,
You have to.
and you take
Yeah.
your bees to California, and they're meeting bees
That's
that are
true.
from all over the country that they wouldn't normally meet, disease passes around very easily and very rapidly.
So sometimes
the
you got to
funny-
do that to save the.
You
other
know the
ones,
funny
right?
thing
Yeah,
is
but the microbes are probably the most important
from the
thing.
soil, right?
Well, from the soil, from everything, right?
So you would agree with that?
100%.
That link is so fucking
100%.
important, and as thin as can be right now.
Yep.
and the soil will
Man,
affect,
people don't pay attention.
the
to this
soil
shit.
will affect the
so
flavor
important.
of the honey,
Yeah.
right? Because the different plants will take up different minerals from the soil.
Nutrients and so
So
on.
you can have a pure white honey and you can have black honey. And the black honey from avocados or buckwheat, it's black because of the minerals that are coming up through the plant into the nectar that's translating into the honey. So it's just like wine. Different wine will taste different because of the terroir, the lay of the land. It's the same with the honey.
See, this is why I get so mad about this green shit and all this dumb shit. Why not talk about this and some other people that we have on that are much more serious than the green?
Because this is here and now,
right.
Microbes are so important. There, I would agree with you. It's the most important thing.
So to me,
we work with nature every day.
Right. So to me, it's like, who cares about the green thing? It's happened a million times. It's a cycle. Yeah, we're adding to it, whatever. Why not worry about this more? Because if this goes, we have a bigger problem than China, Ukraine, Russia, whoever you want to bitch and moan about. That's how we live.
Yeah.
So, I mean, other than the political bullshit, I'll never understand why they don't pay attention to this kind of stuff and why this isn't on the news and not going green and, student loan and all kinds, whatever crap. This is more important than any of that to me.
Yeah.
To me, because this is how you live.
We live it. We live this every day.
So I can't imagine how you guys feel.
Yeah, we live it.
Don't you think this should be on the news? Like how bad things are?
They do.
People don't know. People don't really talk about
out.
microbes. People are weirded out.
The news was out. The news was out
for 10 seconds.
True.
And then gone and never heard about it again. If I wouldn't have Googled you, I wouldn't have known that all this gets shipped to California.
Right.
We put 10,000 people in here. I bet you 2 people know that aren't in that industry.
Yeah.
And it's the education that you guys are doing that's
back to
trying
the
to put it to
organism,
trying to put it to the forefront. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Back to the
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Anything else, Rob?
We
It
appreciate
was
it.
amazing. Thanks for bringing all the.
Thank you for coming. You want to say hi? Yeah, you come in and say hi. Okay. Next time. All righty. Thank you for coming. All right. Thank you, Al. Thank you, sir. Really appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Love the coffee. I'll be I'll be purchasing more and more and more.
It's yours.
Thank you very
We're
much.
leaving that behind.
I really appreciate it.
All
And
right.
then we're going to make Rob try some of this stuff. It's good. It's really good. Thank you guys very much. We'll have everything in the description. And whenever you do come out with new stuff, just text it to me and come on back in and we'll try it out.
Come after that coffee convention. Let us know how it went.
Yeah.
right?
When is
Yeah.
it?
October 7th, 8th, and 9th.
Okay, maybe the end of October you guys come back in and
Yeah.
tell us all about it.
Very soon.
Thank you very much, guys,
All right.
for your time. I really appreciate it. This was really cool. Very, very, very cool. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you. Thank everybody.
Thank you.
All
Thank
righty.
you.